It's my duty to please the booty.
And Muzz got mad at me, the coach said, he goes, Jesus Christ, why don't you just wear 2 nines? And I went, okay.
Switch the call.
Please never do that.
Yep. So.
What up, and welcome to episode 519 of the Spittin Chiclets podcast, presented by New Amsterdam's Pink Whitney, the pink lemonade flavored vodka that we talk about so often, that we drink so often, that we enjoy so often, and that we love so much. We got to shout out the big old bottle, the big 1.75 liter, and we got to shout out New Amsterdam and Pink Whitney's support for this podcast in allowing us to do this as a job and make the content pieces that we get to make and go on the trips that we get to enjoy. So shout out Pink Whitney, shout out New Amsterdam, and shout out my boy Biz Nasty. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
I think we drank a full 1.75 liter on that golf course where we had our latest sandbagger with Schmaltzy and Heat Daddy, what'd you think of the trailer, buddy? Pasha was absolutely cooking before he took off to Europe for his 3rd or 4th wedding of the summer.
Pasha sent me that over, and I just, I was expecting a normal little trailer, and all of a sudden I'm seeing mushrooms, I'm seeing little worms and little animals with golf balls, and I'm like, wow. This man decided to get in that lab before he went over and mushed my team Chelsea at Stamford Bridge in the opening game of the Premier League. Now, granted, it was against Manchester City. Not much of a chance there, but of course Pasha was there to mush me. And he did a great job. That is Wednesday night at 6 o'clock on all channels, right? And everyone, I don't really know how to describe this sandbagger. People have been asking, when's the next bagger? When's the next bagger? A lot of Pink Whitney was drank in the first, I think, 7 holes. I want to say maybe 6 birdies. First 9 holes, 6 birdies, something around there. Where, as I've mentioned a million times and kind of complained that it was 6:30 a.m. tee time, and by the time it was, I say 8 a.m., it was 109 degrees. So drinking Pink Whitney after drinking the night before and barely sleeping, and then getting up and golfing.
The night before. The month before. This is after the Stanley Cup Finals, and then there was a little bit of a layover, and then all of a sudden we're in Vegas. We're there for the draft, and pretty much the end of a month-long heater. So this one gets off the rails very early. It was a blast, and like you said, we celebrated with a lot of Pink Whitney. You can head over to all of our channels to check that out. We dropped the trailer on Twitter, Instagram. Obviously, you can find it on Rumble, YouTube, all the good stuff in order to follow us along on social. Now,
so Biz, that was also being filmed when our fan base just despised us. At that point in time, we had to be disliked more by our fans than anyone's ever been disliked if they consider themselves a fan of someone. So there might be some moments
they're
where
hate watching us.
You might be reminded of the hatred you had towards our entire group in the run to the finals and the madness of RA in the locker room and Oilers girl and all the mistakes we made along the way. But I do think you will enjoy this bagger because Heat Daddy and Swish Daddy and Schmaltzy and Robbie Gucci, great dudes. Very interesting cats, I'll say. I think at one point I said, like, Biz, like, these guys, I don't even really know what they're saying half the time. They have like their own lingo that's very funny. But but by the time we got to like the 16th hole, I mean, they're finding every ball, which I don't want to give away too much. But I actually think there's probably a little bit more important of a story that we have to get to off the hop. And after our boy G came in last week with some amazing news of his girlfriend finishing chemo and being on the other side of a valiant fight, especially with Grinnell's mom going through the same issue. He hit us with a double whammy. He hit us with the double Dion. And he comes back and it's not his girlfriend anymore, it's his fiance.
What a shift. Hey, best week ever. I mean, who's had a better week than G? With the knee drop.
Best 2 weeks of my life, boys. It was amazing. It was unbelievable. I just can't get over enough. Do you want me to run through it all? I can run through the whole weekend.
So where did it go down? Because I mean, the picture was beautiful. I don't know. You hire a photographer. You got to organize all this stuff.
Yeah. So it's if I told Whit when we were pretty drunk in Edmonton, I think I was like, I got the date, I got everything picked out. And mind you, the photographer canceled a week ago. So I was stressing all last week. I had to book a new photographer, but I did it in Point Pleasant Beach, New Jersey, right on the beach in front of her grandma's house. That was really important to me. It had to be in front of her Nona's house. She's very close to her Nona. So that was very important to me. But So for months now, I've been telling Alanna that we have this chemo party planned for her. It was all about this chemo party planned for her on Saturday. Little did she know she was actually planning her engagement party. So I had her plan basically this big chemo party. She was inviting all of her friends. We were going to take this boat called the Mimi 6. It's this big fishing boat. You take it around the inlet in Point Pleasant down the shore. You have a bunch of drinks. It's an unbelievable time. So she's been basically helping plan that for weeks. Now that's on Saturday. So all my friends and family came down on Thursday. So from Thursday to about Friday afternoon, I was down the shore trying to play like, holy shit, I can't let my friends and my family run into Alanna down the shore. So I'm like taking screenshots of Google Maps being like, no one can cross this line. If you cross this street, we're fucked. So like all day. And then I'm telling Alanna like, oh shit, like I got to run to the store real quick and grab some like Pepto-Bismol. And I'm going to talk to my mom. My mom's helping me plan everything. So then Friday rolls around. So Friday was the big day. So around 4:00 all day, I was stressing. Around 4:00, we go to our favorite bar. It's called Wharfside Patio Bar. It's right in Point Pleasant. And I wanted to go with just me and her 5 best friends. I thought it was very, very important to me for her to be with her 5 best friends during this whole thing.
You're just being a fog?
Just being a fog.
Friend of girl, for anyone wondering what a fog is.
Okay, yeah, I was wondering too. I didn't want to stop at Grinnell though. Go ahead, keep going.
So we get to this place, and my whole time I'm just like, okay, when we get to this bar, I'll just, sneak out. I was like, it'll be so easy. She turns around and I sneak out. Terrible planning by me. So we get there and like she's just facing the door the whole time. So I'm like, fuck, I need a game plan. So I'm like, all right, I got the shits. I was like, I got a shit so bad right now. And then
So
I get
romantic.
nervous and I'm like over talking about the shits. And I'm just like, fuck. I'm like, do I go in this bathroom, Alanna? Like, or do I go inside? Like, I'm going to get all sweaty. I'm getting into details about her, about like the shit I'm about to take. And I'm like, I gotta go. I gotta go to the bathroom inside. And she's like, okay, yeah, go to the bathroom inside. So I walk out. I go to the bathroom inside. Well, go to the bathroom inside. I just walk home. So mind you, while this is all happening, all my friends and family, my mom, they all went to the beach. They went to the house on the beach to set everything up. So they're on the beach. My mom, Alanna's dad, they're setting everything up on the beach, the flowers, the candles. They're with the photographer. They poured rose petals all the way down.
Oh my God.
It was beautiful. It was so perfectly done. So I walk back. I actually meet up with one of my friends. We walk back and I'm kind of just taking it all in. It's my best friend and I walk back and he's like, buddy, like, and you guys know Gooch, it's one of my best friends. And he's like, dude, you're getting married like this. I mean, you're getting engaged. Like this is crazy. And it was crazy just to sit there and walk back with your best friend, take it all in. So we get back to the house and everyone's there. All my boys are there. I have a couple beers with them. My dad's there. All my friends, my mom. It was so awesome. And then it's time.
Did she text you like, where are you? Did you fall in the toilet?
She's like, where are you? Are you okay? Like, do I need to come check on you? Do we have to have the restaurant come check on you? Are you okay? So I'm like, finally I answer her and I call her and I'm like, hey, I love you so much. I want you to get up from the restaurant. Everyone knows what's happening. And I want you to walk to the beach. She's like, what? Like, are you shitting yourself? Are you okay? And I'm like, I'm not shitting myself. Just walk to the beach. And she's like, oh, okay. So her and her friends, they get her going. They get her to leave the beach and they're walking back. Now her friend, she still has no idea. So her friend, they're probably 2 minutes away from the spot. And I'm in the place. I'm ready to go. I'm in the U of flowers. I'm talking to the photographers. All my friends are waiting in the distance. I'm preparing what I'm going to say. And her friend texts me and she's like, she still has no idea. So I look at the photographer and I'm like, she still has no idea. And she's like, okay, time to put the phone away and take the ring out. And so I give her my phone and I'm like, oh my God, I don't have the ring.
Oh, you fucking idiot. You fucking
Holy
idiot.
shit, I don't have the fucking ring. And she's like, what? I'm like, I don't have the ring. And I don't have my phone now because I gave it to the photographer's fiance who just walked like 100 yards down the beach. I don't have my phone, so I can't text the girls being like, stall her. So I sprint as fast as I can up the beach, just fucking running as hard as I've ever run in my life. As I run around the corner, I clip my toe on the fence.
Oh,
just
that's why,
absolutely shattered my toe. Shattered. Half my foot's like broken. Couldn't walk for 2 days. It was a nightmare. But I'm like limping back. I'm like running, dragging my foot on the beach. I get the ring.
Where the fuck was the ring?
I hit it
in the toilet.
Yeah. I hit it though. Because it was in my golf bag for like 3 days. And then I went golfing. So I had to take it out and I stuffed it in her brother's like underwear drawer. And it was like under everything. So I just never went back and got it. But fine. So I sprint up. I get it. I run back to the beach. I'm sweating. Right as I like get back to the spot, I see her turn the corner with her friends.
Great timing.
It was great timing. And she starts walking down and it's just like the world stood still for like,
holy fuck, we haven't even gotten to the wedding yet.
I know. It's like I have this like intrusive, I always have this intrusive like thoughts in my head of like, you're doing it wrong. You're doing something wrong. Like this is going to go bad. Like, and for the first time when she was walking to me, it was like, just like pure happiness.
So were you waiting on one knee or did you go down
No.
when she got there?
No. So I was waiting there and at the last second I looked at the photographer's fiance who was there and I'm like, what do I say? Fuck. I don't know what to say now. And he's like,
all that planning and you didn't plan on what to say?
He didn't even have the
and
ring biz.
It kind of just like went out the door and he was like, buddy, just talk to her. Don't plan anything. Just talk to her. So she came up and I was like, can you believe this? Like, I've been lying to you. Like, we've been planning this for months. Like, I love you so much. Like, I'm going to be the best husband. Like, this year has been so tough. And then I just, I got down on one knee and proposed. And then everyone at her house just went fucking nuts. And she like turned and was like, who is that? Like, who's here? And I was like, all my friends, all my family, all your friends, all your family. We're having a big party tonight. And she was just over the moon. She was just so happy. And it was
totally oblivious to any of it going on. Like she believed your fucking Pepto-Bismol. You had the shits, hook, line, and sinker. Like,
but
are you always?
You had told me prior, because remember I texted, is today the day? I believe I said, is today the day? You're like, wow, you remembered that.
Yeah.
Not to pump my own tires on your engagement story, but I think you said at the time, like, I want her to know that I'm doing it. Did you? And I was like, no, dude.
So that I think was the best thing I did. So she actually filmed a video of this. Her friends all filmed her. It's actually going like super viral on TikTok. But I wanted her to walk back with her five best friends. That was very, very important for me. That where, like I had that moment with my buddy of walking back, kind of taking it all in. I wanted her and her five best friends to sit there and walk back and be like, oh my God, it's happening. You're about to get engaged.
Girls love that shit
they
too.
Love that shit.
I don't know. Girls though, they're like, I'm not engaged yet. Fuck you, bitch.
But they didn't. Right as she got up, like right before the beach, they kind of all stopped. They huddled. Her friend like took one of her bracelets off, and she's like, "Oh my God, is it happening?" And they all just start crying, and I think that was really important for me, for them to have that moment as like, 5, 6 best friends.
Yeah.
They've grown up together, like enjoy this moment together, and then it was awesome too, because then Saturday we got to do the chemo party. So we got to do the chemo engagement party. It was awesome, especially being able to celebrate in honor of Alanna and my mom. I did a really nice speech for them.
There you go.
And then after we all went to DJs. It was unbelievable. I can't thank Fun Anthony and DJs enough. On the iconic DJ sign, it said "Congrats, Mike and Alanna." So that was a huge surprise. And one last thing is Larry Flowers. I gotta give Larry a huge shout out. Larry gave me Larry. So me and Larry at the Stadium Series in March, we had a long talk about what I wanted to do, the type of ring I wanted, type of Alanna and Larry talked for a while. And then Larry called me out of the blue like 2 months ago and was like, buddy, I got the diamond. Like, this is everything you talked about. It's a perfect diamond. I'm going to give you the best deal ever on it. And he's been like, I made the process easy. I don't have many friends who have proposed yet already. So he's been walking me through like everything. And just, he's been the deal he gave me was fucking incredible. So shout out to Larry Flowers. If you need a ring, go to him. But just the best weekend of my life, best 2 weeks of my life.
I'll give you a call in about 10 years, Larry. That's
so
a
we're gonna have
hell
our
of a-
first Spittin Chiclets wedding.
Oh yeah, why were you married before this all got going, Whit, or around the same
We
time?
got married 2017. So was the show going? Yes.
That was the year I retired.
Yeah, we had just started, but you did like a surprise wedding.
Yeah, it is
didn't
surprise
you?
wedding.
Yeah.
Oh, you
I don't
did?
know if we were close enough to get the invite at that point.
Yeah,
yeah.
you weren't getting the look for that one.
I don't
but
think I'd still get the invite.
was Biz on the show by then?
No, I just retired that year, and that was my first year with the Coyotes. But gee, that's an incredible story. Like, I mean, the fact that you kind of half got her to organize her own engagement is a veteran move. I think a lot of people are probably listening saying that's pretty genius of you. So the fact that like the last week of your life, man, what a whirlwind, and happy to hear the breakdown of everything going down, buddy. That's incredible, a magic weekend for you and your family, and one you'll never forget. And that's cool how you like the getting the proper pictures, because the picture you guys had, that beach looked unbelievable. It looked like it was basically the wedding ceremony, how perfect it ended up.
It's been a crazy ride. And I can't thank you guys enough either.
It's been a gnarly ride. Thank Barstool too, because you wouldn't even know her if it wasn't for Barstool, right?
Shout out to Gaz. Gaz, day one at Barstool. Well, day one of when I was working in the New York office. First day, he walks me down. He's like, hey, like, you're supposed to sit upstairs, but you can sit here for the rest of the day if you want. And I sat me next to Alanna, and I just kept going back every day. And
wow.
Oh,
Gaz,
great.
the
Now
matchmaker.
we're gonna get a call from HR now.
Gaz
We're
will
in
have a
trouble.
hat on at the wedding too.
Goes from a 6 to an 8. Good night, Jim Kite, with that lid on. Hey,
that wedding's going to be bananas, though, boys.
Oh,
that'll be unbelievable.
okay. So in the shore too, or at the shore? I don't know how the fuck you say it. Is that where you're gonna?
I think we're open to anything. I think any Chiclets fans out there want to give us a deal on a place.
Whit's backyard.
Yeah, right. Fall in the sinkhole, never to be seen from again. we got those like beach. What are those? What are the guys walking on the beach with, looking for like stuff in the sand? I'm looking for the ring like that as his body's underneath my mush.
Yeah.
Biz, there is one thing you're going to be involved in, though.
What?
Bachelor party.
Oh,
Very happy for you, G. I guess getting to celebrate a Spittin Chiclets wedding, not to make it all about us, is going to be a hell of a time. I do want to see that video you're talking about that's going viral. Send me that. Send it over.
I want a list of the bridesmaids first thing on my desk next Monday, please.
Remember the story Ned told about the guy who like sent out, what was that? He like sent out all
the
like
scouting report of all the bridesmaids.
Pre-wedding. So you're the first Grinnell boy that'll be married, correct?
First Grinnell boy. Yep. Yeah. She's the first in her family, too. So
this is going to be a banger of a party.
I already had
Italian.
Stu Feiner texting me about it. He's like, I can't wait for the wedding. It's going to be insane.
You should do it in his backyard. Is where you should do it. He's got all that acreage out on Long Island, and he could throw a
What
party.
a bad idea.
That isn't a bad
Thanks,
idea
Stu.
at all, actually.
Yeah. And I saved you one, Whit, in your backyard. No lawsuits from the sinkholes. End up on the putting green. Next thing you know it.
In fairness, though, like in all this good news in Grinnelli's life, on my side, my Edmonton Oilers, I mean, we get absolutely, what's the word? Ransacked? Is that a word? Surprise attacked? Just like torpedoed by Doug Armstrong, our boy Biz. Doug Armstrong of the St. Louis Blues decides to just light the NHL summer doldrum boring days of August on fire with
Connor McDavid's wedding weekend. Steiner's riding the Monarch, being diabolical, dreaming up this fucking plan, and then drops the hammer on Connor McDavid's wedding weekend. We're off and running for the next best regular season in NHL history. Are you kidding me? What is this move with?
I don't know. I saw Sarah Valley. He was the first tweet I saw of it. I think he had it first. Not sure exactly. But I saw it. I just retweeted immediately. First thought, I said, "What the hell is going on?" And the offer came down from the Blues, and they signed Philip Broberg to a 2-year deal worth $4.58 each year, and they signed Dylan Holloway to a 2-year deal worth $2.29 each year. Now, I listened to Elliott talk on 32 Thoughts, and basically, the way he described it is, for what Broberg prepared to get, it was like a 250% increase salary-wise. And I believe from what Holloway was considering he would get or planning on getting, it was around 100%, he said on his show. In very happy for those guys, right? Like whenever you see a player get paid, I don't think all fans necessarily feel like this, but I know all players do. It's like, good for you. Great for these guys. They get a bunch of money. They get a bunch of guarantees. And also, if Edmonton does decide to match, which you don't know yet, I think they have till tomorrow, I think,
Yes.
or today as you're listening, you can't be traded for a year. So it's like these guys lock up some big-time security and some more money that they thought they were going to get. So good for them. Good for the fans around the league, and good for hockey, because I think we've had the discussion before that I'm surprised there aren't more offer sheets, because it not only could help your team and your organization in getting a guy that you really wanted that you weren't able to get via trade, but you're also fucking over another team, and you're putting them in a situation where, all right, well, you do want to match it. You're going to have to trade guys. Now, we've seen Edmonton make some moves. They moved on from Cody Ceci. So they've done some things where it looks like they will match. But from what I'm reading, it's a lot easier to sign Holloway than it is to match Holloway than it is to match Broberg. But the Broberg I saw in the playoffs, it's like, you need this guy.
But you can, and no offense to Holloway, you just simply can't replace a Broberg right now. Like, I loved Holloway's game. I think it's a kick in the dick either way if they can't make it work to bring both guys back, because it just felt like the year where those guys had gained that perfect amount of experience where you get them on this bargoon for the next year or two, maybe on a bridge deal. And from my understanding, it was going to be a 1-year deal for both guys.
That's what it sounded like.
But to maybe eventually getting them paid what they deserve, because if we see the Broberg that we saw in playoffs, like, fuck, dude, if you get him at $4 million, that's still a bargain. So my understanding is they get rid of Cody Ceci off the books for $3.75. And also, Whit, my understanding is there is a way to make this work where they can match both of those offer sheets if they had Evander Kane on the IR like the conversation was last week, but I believe that would have to last the entire season long. So do they pull a Vegas Golden Knights and do the LTIR special? Do you not go to Evander Kane and say, hey, buddy, we're going to pay you 4 sheets, take the year off, maybe get what you need repaired, and then ease into this thing, get in the perfect amount of shape to hit the ground running come round one of the playoffs. Now, I don't know if he would agree to that. I don't know the significance of the injury, but there is a slim chance that they're able to bring both guys back. Another thing too, Whit, is I think that this is also a number where we don't see it as often, because if the player is good enough, what you're offering them in order to be matched has to be a certain amount of money. And when you get up into that crazy amounts of money, you're sending back like a bunch of first rounders. I don't believe the compensation for Broberg coming back would be that crazy.
Second rounder.
That's a nothing burger, right? Because they're in that $4 million range. So for the St. Louis Blues to kind of jam them up like that and not have to give up much in return, I can't even blame them. But what I got to ask you is, if Ken Holland is in that seat, do you think Steiner and do you think Doug Armstrong pull that move off?
So that is the question. That is the question of, is it just a giant fuck you to Stan Bowman? Is it more about your team and you're looking at a Western Conference team and you can kind of hurt them while also helping yourself, and it has nothing to do with the GM? But as Elliot mentioned and many others have mentioned, the St. Louis-Chicago rivalry when Bowman was in Chicago, the whole thing for me that's odd is that our boy Bob Stauffer came out, and I believe he mentioned that Ken Holland was kind of instructed to re-sign these guys during the season. But it's been made clear that I don't think Broberg wanted to, and he wanted to finish the year and see how it went. And God, did he finish the year probably better than he could have ever imagined. Basically being the second or third best defenseman on the team in the playoffs, right? I mean, you look at Ekholm and you look at Bouchard and how good those guys were. But Broberg, Game 7, he might have been the best player on the ice for the Oilers. So I don't know if it happens if Holland's still there. I don't know if Holland was told to re-sign him and then kind of brushed it aside. There's so many sides to the story that we just don't know, not being inside the room. But the fact that Bowman takes over and it's like, hey, welcome back to the NHL. We're about to offer sheet 2 of your best young players. Suck on that. Is interesting.
But I mean, do you think he came into that seat expecting that might happen? I mean, they're probably, why does there need to be loyalty there? because for St. Louis, you're getting 2 great assets in return for not giving up much. You're worried way more about your future.
Oh, yeah.
And if you think that you were qualified for the job, here's your fucking first test. We're not going to let you ease into this thing. You're taking over a juggernaut. You have 2 valuable pieces and you're jammed up against the cap. Dance, puppet, dance. Let's see. Hey, there has been a ton of, I think, criticism on maybe some of the moves that Stan Bowman made as Chicago GM. Other people would argue like, well, he helped put the final pieces together to help him win 3 Stanley Cups. So, hey, that's irrelevant at this point. Let's see what he can maneuver outside of this situation. And I think that if they bring back Broberg and they don't end up bringing back Holloway, I'm pretty sure you score that as a win. But I was so excited to see the upside from Holloway after what I saw in playoffs last year and the way he's able to hound pucks. I think that he has a good motor. He can skate like the wind, doesn't seem to tire out. And I feel like he's got a little bit more offense to his game than a guy like Connor Brown. So you need these guys who have been in that locker room and these pieces that you know that work there, that fit in and get along. And even to further it and go back to the Ceci thing, my understanding is last year that Cody Ceci was going to be dealt at the deadline and that Draisaitl is so close with them, he went in there and he was like, nah. You're not trading Cody. A bunch of them. Did you not hear that as well?
Yeah, I think we were talking about that at the time. And then when he scored that goal, the bench went nuts after the deadline, and it was like
Cody Makar.
I do think that, man. You know when you're like, oh, go with your gut reaction, like go with what your gut says. Like when I saw that offer sheet, I was like, match both of them, right? And I'm so not in the mix of dealing with all the contracts and the Draisaitl extension and the McDavid extension the year after that and understanding all the pieces that have to go together to put this perfect puzzle into a Stanley Cup champion. But when I saw those guys in the playoffs, I mean, I remember one of the Holloway scored a goal against LA, highlight reel goal in the first round. Like you're like, this kid can skate big. I was just like, match them both. That's just kind of blind. I don't want to lose either one of them. But if I had to pick, it would be keeping Broberg. And now that Ceci's gone, now the one good thing is in that trade for Ceci, this kid Ty Emberson, apparently like there's some real good upside with him. And he was, I believe, drafted by the Coyotes, had a tough year in Tucson when he turned pro, went over to the Rangers, got put on waivers. San Jose picks him up at the beginning of last year, up and down. But he had 10 points, 30 games with the Sharks, right around 19 minutes played per game, and played pretty well for being on a horrible team last year. So maybe they're looking at it like this guy could step in and give us good minutes and be a part of this team if we can't match the Broberg. I can't wait to see what happens. But yeah, it's like, welcome back to the NHL, Stan Bowman. What are you going to do? And even though this is happening to my squad, I do think that maybe we see more of it moving forward because like when you look at this one, the whole league's like, yes, it makes one of the best teams in the league have to make a tough decision. Now, if you're talking about big players and 3 first-round picks going back, I think then it's a little bit crazy. And for the most part, with really high-end talent, teams are going to match no matter what. So I think it's more likely to be these guys a little bit in the middle, right? Where it's like, oh, you got to decide. Do you want a 2nd-round pick for Broberg and a 3rd-round pick for Holloway, or do you want to sign these guys to a little bit of an overpayment right now and then stick you in a little bit of a jam as a team that's already right up against the cap?
So I think as an insurance policy at the probability that they lose Holloway, they end up going to get Vasily Podkolzin, and he was from Van, and I think he's probably a poor man's Holloway to describe him the best. My understanding is he wasn't even going to make the 12-man forward roster for the Vancouver Canucks at a training camp, just based on all the depth and everything they got going on. So,
how's he going to make Edmonton then?
Well, because that there's a little bit of separation from the top end talent to the bottom based on salary cap. That's how. And the other thing I asked Elliot Friedman about, I texted him and I said, "Do they have to sign those deals?" And he said, "No, it takes 2 to tango. Like Broberg and Holloway have the opportunity to say, hey, no, we're good. We want to stay here and take our 1-year deals." Now, I'm pretty sure that the PA would lose their fucking minds.
And the agent would be like, wait, what? You're turning down over $9 million for a 1-year deal for 1.7? What are we doing here?
So I probably should have followed this up with Elliot, though, is you're allowed to sign an extension when you have less than a year remaining on your deal. So What if they signed a 1-year deal with Edmonton? Let's say they're qualifying offers that would have been offered to them, or whatever the bump you said they were going to get on those 1-year deals to keep their AAV down so they could make this all work moving forward. What if they just sign the 1-year deal and then they extend in training camp? Is that plausible? Do you understand what I'm saying? So you can essentially work out a maybe even a little bit more of a favorable deal for both guys from a longer term perspective. It gives you that 1 year to work and figure out the books moving forward, but yet you still got them on the 1-year AAV that they wanted to get them on to make this thing all work. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, but from the team side, it's like, we got you this year. Why would we give you another contract right away as opposed to seeing how you play? Because they're still, let's say, as much as these guys looked good in the playoffs.
Because you're not being gutless by saying, I'm taking the offer sheet and bye-bye. You're being a good soldier by taking the 1-year deal with a handshake agreement that you're going to sign them to whatever you agree upon, let's say in training camp, for the extension purpose.
But why wouldn't you just wait and do that in training camp, and have the... Do you know what I'm saying? I don't get the signing and then doing another one a month later.
I'm saying based on the fact that they have the opportunity as players to say, no, we don't want to sign it. So all of a sudden the agent and the PA are pissed, but you're just squeezing in for the 1 year and then you're re-upping because from my understanding, the rule is the minute July 1st hit, you have less than a year left till July 1st remaining on your current contract. You have the ability to re-sign with your team. So if they wanted to be good soldiers, turn it down, get the AAV under for this season moving forward, and then based on doing that handshake deal, get the future earnings secured with obviously Edmonton, assuming they want to keep these guys long term, then do it that way. You get what I'm saying? Am I going fucking crazy here?
Sort of and sort of not. I just think it's maybe so unprecedented. I don't get your brain and where it's at right now. Okay. I just think you're not. I think you're thinking hey, this is Broberg talking hey, Stan, I did you a favor not taking that deal because I want to be an Oiler. But Stan's hey, buddy, thanks a lot, but that doesn't change how we feel, and we haven't offered you a long-term extension. Do you know? That would be the proposition from the agent. Oh, the olive branch, you're saying.
Well, yeah, your handshake agreement saying I'm getting you out of this jam for this year, taking a lower AAV, and then you're going to secure my bag moving forward, bitch.
Yeah, and as a GM, I'm saying,
well, then
you better play your dick off this season. I want to see some good puck moving ability, shut down defense and haul it. I want you to go to the net and score some goals, and we'll chat around Christmas.
Well, then they're saying, I'm taking my offer sheet.
Yeah,
Fuck
I'm going to
Stan.
St. Louis.
I'm going to St. Louis.
So we'll see what
bitch.
happens. I mean, who knows? Maybe this news breaks while we're kind of sitting here chatting.
But the thing is, too, buddy, is your I think that your payday and your exposure getting to play with McDavid on this team for at least one more year probably presents a bigger payday in the future. So that to me is maybe in a crazy world why you would consider declining it, which probably won't happen. More so Holloway than Broberg, because it's tough to. I mean, all of a sudden you're making 4 sheets where you would have made $1.5 million. I think we've gone on this long enough. I'm sorry if I confused you a little bit there with that.
That's okay. That's okay. It was an interesting storyline that we have not seen much of in the past. So I think it's actually probably time to throw it to our first guest. And we sat down during the Cup Finals in Edmonton with Jack Michaels, who is the voice of the Edmonton Oilers, who started as the voice of the Oilers as a radio guy when I was in Edmonton. And he goes into his story and how he was replacing a legend. And, he's an American guy that's announcing a Canadian team's radio games. And just a great interview. He's gone on to become very successful, very good at his job. He's got some great calls. I thought this year when they won the Western Conference, it was fabulous how he called it, where I think he was back on the radio once the games go national after the first round. So Jack Michaels, we want to thank him for his time, and I hope everyone enjoys it. And even if you're not an Oilers fan, pretty cool story of how he got into the business and how he got into calling NHL games if you're interested in something like that for a future. So for right now, we'll throw it over to Jack Michaels.
All right, it's great to welcome our next guest. After graduating from Ithaca College, he began his hockey announcing career, heading to Colorado Springs and then on to Anchorage, Alaska to make his bones. After calling 919 pro games, he joined the NHL ranks here in Edmonton. It's an absolute pleasure to welcome to the Spittin Chiclets podcast, Jack Michaels. How's it going, my friend?
I was not expecting such a formal intro.
He's the intro.
Yeah,
he's the intro.
That was very
I did Crosby's. That was my one claim to fame. I did the Crosby intro.
That was quite clinical. I don't even know what to say.
Thank you so much. I guess the surprising thing to me is I didn't know you were an American guy. You went to Ithaca and you found yourself in Edmonton. Every year I'd go to Boston because Boston area, because Ithaca played Springfield, or as he knows it, the other year it'd be almost in college, American International. So you'd have those two schools every year in football. So I was in the area quite a bit. And Ithaca is you're either from New York City or you're from New England, and you go to that school. So it's a very popular, ton of New England.
Is that the one that's in the Tom Green with Road Trip?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that the campus?
It's not the campus. And then there they go University of Ithaca, I think. Ours is Ithaca College, but same town as Cornell University. And a lot of New Englanders.
Now, this might be a dumb question. Is that a broadcasting school specifically?
There's a fair amount. Brendan Burke, who does the Islanders, went to Ithaca. Carl Ravitch on ESPN, Kevin Connors on ESPN.
Oh, really?
There's some Ithaca guys out there. Nick Nixon, the Hall of Fame announcer for the LA Kings, went to Ithaca. Yeah, we got some troops.
That's Central New York, Syracuse University.
That's
there.
Right, yeah.
How about the Cortica Jug? Did you announce any of those games while you were there?
What's that game? Ithaca got 3 out of 4. Ithaca College over Cortland. Cortland, we kind of gave State School the whole chance there. So it was a lot of back and forth.
I find it interesting that, according to the internet at least, your love of hockey began. You're from Pittsburgh area when the Penguins drafted Mario Lemieux.
Absolutely.
And you just hopped right in, kind of?
I did. I was a football guy. I went the other way. I was one of those guys.
Steelers.
No. Shut up. I was one of those guys who had to be different. And for whatever reason, the first year my skull was hard, the worst MVP in the history of the National Football League happened to have an MVP year. His name was Brian Sipe.
Cleveland Browns for number 17.
I've never even heard of him.
Brian.
He was my favorite quarterback.
Exactly. Brian Sipe. Yeah. So the cardiac cancer, they had a big year.
A future on him with the MVP.
Yeah, exactly. So I went Browns. I'm the one guy from Western Pennsylvania who decided to go Browns, and I paid for it ever.
Oh, you've been tortured.
And he came to Canada after, right?
But hockey-wise, I went from a guy with no chance.
Never played.
Oh, never. I mean, you've seen it. Never played. Never. I mean, I still can't skate. 1981, I'm on the cover of my hometown paper pushing a chair in the Learn to Skate program. That's the closest I ever came to ice hockey immortality. But, I went from a guy who could not buy a date in junior high or high school. All of a sudden, I got a little mini pack to the Penguins. Late 80s, early 90s. No problem.
Want to get me Mario pie?
I thought it was my personality at the time, but maybe not.
Pulling off the popcorn trick at the Eagle.
Yeah, it was the tickets. Yeah. But we all know the popcorn.
I think it's
we all know the popcorn.
Just watching Mario go end to end.
This is the only funny they were so you
successfully either. Like the trick, I never was able to pull it on. So to speak.
What I think it's incredible that what you do, you don't really think about what you got to do to get to the top level. I mean, 919 pro games, you get your chance in the NHL. When you started doing it, did you understand to get to my highest goal, I'm going to have to grind for a while?
Well, I wasn't talented like you.
So you're pretty talented.
I knew it wasn't going to be a cup of coffee, right?
I played in the coast.
Yeah.
I played in the jungle.
So easy come, hard to leave, right? And that was no question in my case. I grinded away and just...
What was the first gig?
The first gig was in Colorado Springs, the Colorado Gold Kings at the Broadmoor Arena. So that was when Colorado College was still in the WCHA. It was that league. Obviously, you don't want to hear about that league.
No.
Your league was always the best.
But we tried getting a coast team in that town. How good
Colorado
is that
Springs,
town?
the Big Horse.
Springs. Exactly.
No, it's actually the state animal.
Yeah,
it's all worked out.
It is.
We got pigeon tossed.
Yeah, so I was there, 2,000 fans a game, knew that wasn't going to last. They went belly up in the summer, so I had a choice of either Anchorage, Alaska, or Greenville, South Carolina. And the Greenville was, they were called the Growl. They had like 8 R's in there. And I was like, I don't think my dad, the English professor, would go for that. So I'm going to go Alaska, roll the dice, and, only game in town. It was a blast. And
they got great fans there.
Great fans and great people. As you know, the Alaskans in the NHL are like 6 or 7 of a kind.
Were you there when they won it?
I was there when they won it the year after we had Gomer.
Yep.
Gomer's friend of the show.
Oh, yeah.
We're best.
I'm not a name dropper. He's literally the only NHL player that I would say I'm really good.
He's the best.
Great
He's
dude.
the best guy. No one dislikes him.
Yeah.
And so, we became close in 04, 05 when he was up there during the lockout. Some guy took a run at him, broke his hip.
Yeah.
And then he came out in 05 and 06 and had the best year of his career. That was where he got the 33 and 84 points.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
He signed the huge ticket after that.
Signed the huge ticket after that.
My buddy Justin Meiser was on that Alaska team.
Justin Meiser was a very good friend.
Great guy.
Yeah.
He's the man.
A great guy. I've kind of lost touch with him, but Meisey would know.
Oh, he's unbelievable.
So you were kind of got used to where you are now in Edmonton being the only ticket in town when you were in Alaska.
Well, I would say the biggest adjustment for me, Biz, was moving from the contiguous U.S. to Alaska. Alaska and Edmonton was duck soup.
Yeah.
But going to Alaska, it's a different. They call it the last frontier for a reason. Like, if you want to complain about the weather, they'll tell you where the airport is. If there's disputes to be had, they don't mind driving 20 minutes outside town, and whoever comes back.
Figure it out.
Like, if they had to vote again, I don't think they'd vote for statehood. I'm just telling you that right now.
So old school, like people having Donnybrook.
Don't go up there with a Biden sticker.
No.
Don't. You won't.
Witt's got one on his bumper.
You Russia.
Witt's got one on his bumper.
You won't come back.
Slid
Like,
Witt.
Alaska,
me and Joe.
Alaska, they declare it like the moment the polls open. Like, you don't have to wait. You might have to wait for like 2 votes.
Bush already said he'd never go there.
Yeah.
What was like the biggest adjustment outside of like the weather or anything like that? Just the whole acclimated to just that whole culture.
Well, the thing with Alaska is there is a sense of isolation because your commute is a 3-hour flight to Seattle. I mean, think about it. Like you're nowhere near.
Just to begin the trip.
Yeah, just to begin the trip. And that's the way it went down in the minors is we would the Seattle airport was like our home like that. And then you peeled off to LA and Salt Lake and Boise, Idaho and Vegas. And so it was a great league from that standpoint. I racked up the frequent flyer miles, met a whole bunch of people as you know, the one thing Canadians don't realize is they think, major juniors, but minor pro. There are so many people you meet in minor pro.
It's a surface.
It is amazing the people you meet up and down, and that's why you have to be, hopefully a pretty decent guy because those people can eventually help you.
Yeah, you get weeded up.
Well, they say don't ever on your way up.
Exactly.
Don't ever, shit on
How
people.
I got the Edmonton job was a former ace. His name is Ryan Bass, Beastie, his nickname, good friend of Gomer's. He played a few games with the Philadelphia Flyers. He happened to be the next door neighbor of the chairman of the search committee. I got lucky with the Oilers. They had never hired for the job before. As you know, Rod Phillips had been here 38 years, Hall of Fame announcer, Stone Cold Mortal Lock. They never hired. He basically, raised his hand in 1972.
He has at Rexall. They had a banner for him.
Oh, yeah.
Is it still in Rogers? Yeah,
absolutely.
He was a legend.
Hall of Fame announcer, person, all that. And they just were looking at everyone. And that's,
so when I
have to look at everyone to give a guy like me.
So when I met you became the radio guy here when I was playing.
Yeah.
Great guy. I knew right away you're going to be a TV guy at one point. But I'm wondering, through the climb up, was there any moments you're like, fuck, man, like this is a grind? Or did you love it all the whole time? Did you ever think, like, I don't know if I'm ever getting up top?
You're talking to a guy that once had his flight canceled with the team behind him, because I was the travel guy, too, because of a volcano erupting in Alaska. I mean, you said one time. I don't know if I could do that. It's a season, you'd be like, when I was putting up dasher boards, I was thinking, this is what I went to school for 4 years.
I got to get an insurance job.
Sharpen skates, calling the game.
Just unbelievable. When I went to the booth, and started to do the game and the minors, that was the best part of my day because I was, making.
You're doing so much.
CHL is, you're getting guys on planes, American League. People are saying, I don't want to room with this guy. Where's my $30 a day for per diem? You're dealing with the minutia of everything, and you've got to be. And on the road, you're hanging with the coach, the trainer, and the equipment manager. Those are the 4 guys. Yeah. That's your staff.
Yeah.
That's it. So, yeah, to answer your, I mean, Gomer, like that. I remember the second road trip. We were on a bus ride from like Bakersfield to San Diego. It wasn't even that long of a ride. It was like 3.5 hours. He's like, this is how it.
Gomer got a helicopter.
I mean, he quickly was like, this is going to be a little bit more than I envisioned.
Yeah.
Like, I thought, hey, I'm going to play with all my Alaska buddies, and
Every one of the Yager treatment, only home games in Russia. Only the home games.
Yeah. The best story I have about that is, you know, there was the year he played, Alaska wrapped up the top seed, and so people were dive bombing to get out of the last couple of games, and we were in Vegas to finish up the regular season before playoffs, and of course, Gomer was first on the list. So he comes up, let me do color with you.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know whether you remember a guy named BJ Young, minor league player, but he was on the Terry Ryan Red Deer team, that Red Deer team in the 90s.
Okay.
So it was a pretty notable reputation. Yeah, there's a whole look up Red, like they've got a reputation, but bottom line is some huge dude comes up right up in the middle of our broadcast, and he's getting Gomer's attention. Gomer finally takes the headset off, and the guy goes, "You tell BJ the Cowboys looking for him." And so we did the rest of the game, like this 6'8", 300-pound. We did the rest of the game, and I remember we went down like right after the game. Even Gomer, he was freaked out. Hey, BJ, the Cowboys looking for you. BJ's like, yeah, F that guy. Yeah,
you're like, I don't think that's a Cowboy from Brokeback Mountain.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff minor hockey, like, yeah, it happens.
Yeah, well, we're on minor hockey. Like, the coast is one thing, and you did a lot of time there, a lot of soggy stuff. Did you ever think at least going to the AHL and get out of Alaska?
The problem is Alaska's only game in town, and I'm doing everything. I'm selling sponsorships. I actually, believe it or not, I made more money the last couple of years in Alaska than I did like my first year in the NHL.
No shit.
Yeah, I carved out a nice little kind of gig so going to the American League for $40,000 a year when I have a wife and 2 young kids, it was out of the question. Okay.
Yeah.
Not going to happen.
We've talked a lot about Alaska. I want to know wildlife experiences. Anything crazy up there?
Oh yeah, I have a picture somewhere on my phone of a moose jumping after my dog. I dropped the camera to go get the dog. It was the old digital camera age. And when I came back, like, I don't know what happened. I must have adrenalized or whatever. But yeah, there was a picture of literally midair jump after moose are common because they don't like the deep snow. So in the wintertime, you're driving along, you pull up a stoplight. It's not uncommon to be like, hey, there's a moose.
And they can gallop too, man.
It's all good.
They get going.
And they're mean. They don't like, but they can only go in straight lines. So if you ever irritate them,
zigzag. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
You don't even have to zigzag. Step 4 feet. Steamroll right past.
Any video or
That's what you did to Biz on the ice.
Well, I was going to say, Biz was known as playing in straight lines.
Yeah,
but,
I was going to ask you.
But out of necessity.
Any video or pictures of you juking a moose or no?
No.
It's that one then?
Yeah, but in Alaska, it was an exotic place. You know who had a girlfriend up there who actually did a period with me? Boston's own Steven Tyler.
Oh, no shit, huh?
I don't know whether he's still dating. They had a long-term relationship, but yeah.
And he came on during the game?
Oh, he did a whole period with me.
How'd that go?
Oh, it was beauty. I mean, he was great. You know, Alaska, usually they don't, and again, you see, we had Elle up there shooting the, what was the bear movie that was chasing Anthony Hopkins all over.
Oh, the bear.
No, not cocaine bear.
Oh, sorry.
This is pre-cocaine. Shark bear. This is sober bear.
Alec Baldwin too.
So we had Elle. Oh, great move.
I thought you were on the Sharknado route there. My bad.
Yeah,
took a right turn.
But yeah, Steven. So, and we had a whole bunch of people, like, they were kind of freaked out by them, so they were taking the pictures. Usually Alaskans don't give you the time of day. It's the best place to be a celebrity because they don't
give a shit. Yeah.
No, they don't.
Are you a big Aerosmith fan? Sorry, Biz. Were you a big Aerosmith fan before that? Just sort of like.
I grew up in the 80s. I mean,
there we go.
I do recognize the one album. They had 3 tunes that were basically the same
Private
tune.
Vacation.
No, remember they had Crying, Crazy, Amazing.
Yeah, that was
if you break it down, those are actually the exact same song. There's
the Armageddon song's one of them, right?
That was a little later.
That came later. But they had that 3-song situation that was kind
of. That's when MTV was huge. They were on that top 10 MTV.
Wayne's World, back end of Wayne's
Alicia Silverstone. She was in all the videos then. Yeah.
Who wasn't an Aero? I mean,
my first ever concert, Aerosmith.
Yeah.
Have you always had this energy? I could see where your cadence comes from, right? When you're calling games, have you always been this? Wow. Whoa. Yo.
no one wants a sleepy, mellow, relaxed broadcaster, dude.
No.
I don't think so.
Gonna bring it.
I don't think so. Yeah.
have to bring some
energy. You at least have to toss in the odd F-bomb or something, right? I mean, you can't just show up and So I never eat. Believe it or not, I never eat before games. It's after. Yeah, way before. That gets me into trouble. But actually, before the game, I like to go on hungry because, again, like you don't want to be sleepy and satisfied.
So when you got the job here, you're replacing a legend. It must have been like you must have took some heat. Right? Were there fans like, who is this fucking guy?
I didn't like the whole, it was like,
the energy.
Why did we have to go get an American? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
But that, what I found, and it's probably not unlike a player. If you do you put in the work, you're a good teammate, over time, you're appreciated.
If you can't expect it right away.
You're right. You can't expect it right away. And as you might remember, I was probably a different guy those first couple years than
You've grown into your career as a broadcaster, no doubt.
Also, like, who was I to come in with the same kind of personality, which I always had.
Yep.
If you remember those first couple years,
you were quieter.
I was all business, let me earn something before I start cracking jokes or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, let me kind of put in my time. I mean, I'm a rookie again, even though I'm 35 years old. Like, to these guys, who the hell am I? In fact, I remember sitting down with Penner. Like, and he could be a little rough.
If he wanted to not talk, he would just silence.
And like 10 minutes into the interview, he goes, "Who exactly are you?" Just like, but he didn't mean it. You know him.
No, he's very dry.
He was not a mean-spirited guy, but like that was a check, as if like, hey, don't assume everything. Make sure you introduce yourself. I still do that to this day. Like, even with guys, I mean, some of them are like, seriously, Jack? Like, I've known you 14, like, you've been in the locker room a lot. You don't have to keep in. But like, when I'm in an opposing room, I never assume anything. You try to be that guy. And then if you get to know him, obviously, then you can have some fun.
I mean, and when you came to Edmonton, you were having to put cherries on top of some shit Sundays. I mean, what do you think of those teams? What do you remember about those teams?
Well,
we were getting shrugged.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, the one year, Habby was playing out of his mind.
We were in the playoffs the day of the deadline.
Exactly. Yeah.
So at least we had something going that year.
100%. And I mean, I'm not just saying this because I'm on the show, but honestly, that team might have taken a baby step forward, might have been a playoff contender. You got hurt, and that kind of, you were having a real nice season. You were a big plus player on a fairly ordinary
we were
team.
doing all right.
But limping along okay. And again, those are the kinds of things that happen. Like,
they were cursed. It felt just
Nuge's rookie year was having a great year, and then it looked like a sniper in Chicago got him.
He was in Chicago and tripped over the blue line and separated his shoulder. Yeah. You're just like,
and he would have been the call. I think he would have won the Calder that year over Landeskog. Yeah. I mean, people, again, it was one of those things, and Nuge is still, to this point, still underrated. All goes back to that first year. In other words, we had some good players, but not enough to be a serious contender. No. And remember, Nuge and those guys came in when, what did you have in the Western Conference? I mean, Marty Hansel might have been the sixth best center, and he was a giant, 6'6", 230 pounds. How would you like to play that if you're Nuge coming in at 6'1" and 195 or whatever?
He had no protection.
And then you had Kopitar and Kessler and the Sedins, which would skill you to death. I mean, there was no relief. Getzlaf. I mean, it was ugly back then for those young Oiler teams. They just didn't have the muscle. They didn't have the veteran guile that, obviously all of a sudden the Oilers today are, they're the oldest team in the league. How did that happen? But it somehow happened.
Like, Jack, when did you realize you had the pipes like that you do have? Did someone point that out to you? Did you just kind of realize someday, like, I get a pretty smooth, velvety voice here?
Well, I think in 4th or 5th grade, when I kept being the kid that got moved, except instead of the other troublemakers, like, I was always the guy who got moved. And I wouldn't ask my teacher, even like at the age of 9, I was kind of pissed. And I was like, hey, why did I get moved? Like, I wasn't, I wasn't throwing my buddies under the bus, but I kind of was. I was like, hey, that wasn't me. And they're like, well, you can't whisper. Like, you're the worst whisper.
Irish whisper.
So, and my mom is Irish, so, so...
Hey, this guy sucks. You're like, they can hear you.
And again, my lack of athletic ability, I think I started to and you're an only child, and you're trying to get in the mix with, the cool kids in junior high. So you just start elevating your voice to an obnoxious level, the likes of which no one has ever seen. So eventually you become heard. You just demand to be heard. And that's when I was like, yeah, it's evolved.
I would say that the favorite Edmonton personality, at least within the internet, is the Stoff. The Stoff's a legend, right? Yeah. And we all love him. We know him. What do you remember about first meeting him? Because some of the combos with him, I could go on and on about how the stuff he says, you're like, Stoff, I could sit with you all day.
They broke the mold. I mean, they broke the mold with that dude. I kind of joke because as
he knows a lot, though.
No.
He knows everything about the Oilers.
100%. I mean, I've never met a bigger fan in my life than Stoff, but I kind of joke that I believe he might have been like created on the set of like Terminator 2. Because like if he walks along, you'll notice one arm's down here and one shaking over here. He's kind of like, and he doesn't sweat. Like we were in Fort Lauderdale the other day, and I'm leaking like Albert Brooks from Broadcast News. Probably not a good reference for here.
Great for me.
Yeah. Like for our vintage, yes. These guys are like, what the hell? But in any event, bottom line is I was leaking, and he's not sweating.
I've seen some pictures of him sweating.
Yeah, I've seen.
There's a legendary picture on this YouTube, and he's leaking.
I think he's kind of part cyborg. I really believe that, and that certainly goes for his brain. Louis calls him the brain. You're gonna have Louis on a little bit later. Like he does soak up and remember everything.
That's right.
Oh yeah, he's a little glistening.
He might have just had some drinks the night before.
He's glistening there, but yeah, all-time character. The Edmonton sports media scene is filled with character.
It is.
Yeah,
it is. You got the Spec. Everyone reads Spec.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I mean it's you know what? It's a great town to be part of because they care. Like that's the one thing is what I do, which is pretty trivial in the grand scheme of things, but it matters here.
Yeah.
And I would be lying if my ego wasn't fed by that. Like it's important to me that people think it's important. Like that people think me calling a hockey game is fun and they get behind it. And that can't help but make you feel good, right? That what you do matters.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I love about being in this city is, yes, I have a trivial job. It's not even a job. It's whatever. But it means something to people.
Yeah.
Like they live, like they listen with their relatives. And I think that's kind of cool.
It is.
Yeah. How do you toe that line of being like a fan, but not sounding too much like a homer, like our friend in Boston? So like, yeah, but you're like kind of a homer, but you still want to keep it pro a little bit, correct?
Go back to Witt's teams. I mean, did I really want to talk about a team that was out of it at American?
In November?
You gain an appreciation for who you're playing against. I mean, all those guys, like I said, I mean, a lot of my colleagues might not have had an appreciation for like how good of a player Marty Hansel was, for instance. But when you're on a bad team, when you're broadcasting games for, a team that's nowhere near playoff contention, you start paying attention to it almost by osmosis. You start paying attention to the other teams because you don't want to slag your team. You want to build up the other team. So it's like, okay, I can understand why they're losing, right? And here's why. Okay. Here's why. Here's how many. And the other thing is, like, I still believe the NHL's got the world's greatest athletes. I really do. And you would honestly, like, yes, there's the odd bad game where you're like, boy, neither team had it that night. But most nights, there's 8 or 9 guys on each team that are just unreal. And I still kind of remember that. Maybe it's the minor league background, but you've got unbelievable players. And again, when you're broadcasting for a subpar team, you can't help but look around. I mean, that Pacific Division back then, every team had 8 or 9 like unbelievable guys. The West was really strong. That's why Chicago and LA basically traded the title every year.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just that good.
Oh, I was going to go back to, you said like the people care in town. Obviously, a big responsibility for you is to talk about the current team, but also like the history of the team. And they've had so much success. So how much time did it take you to get to learn all that coming in? Or were you more of a hockey historian where you were aware of their cup runs and who had a helping hand? And a lot of those guys too are still around. So I'm sure you were able to learn off of them.
You see, you guys don't know what it's like. You and Biz don't know what it's like to act and to be a nerd. You're athletes. You're, never had any trouble. Yeah, never had any trouble, the dating scene or anything like that.
I don't know about that.
But for guys like me, like, yeah, absolutely. And here's the thing is the Penguins were lousy when I first started watching. So who do you hate if you're a Pittsburgh Penguins fan? You hate the Flyers. Who do the Flyers play? 2 Stanley Cup Finals right when I was getting into hockey, Edmonton. So who's your second favorite team by accident?
Yeah.
Edmonton. So I knew all of that. Like I would, and plus, like, you're lobbying your parents. Well, I want can I watch the second game of the ESPN doubleheader? And then, all right, we'll let you watch a period. It's really cool. I can learn about, I just make up stuff, right? All I wanted to do. And I just remember like this iced over, well, let's send it out to Edmonton, Alberta. My top knees would be whatever, and it was inevitably like Edmonton, Calgary, Edmonton, whatever. And so, yeah, you started following the team. It wasn't just hating the Flyers. Now you're kind of behind the Oilers. So by the time I got to where I was affording tickets, my dream was obviously, and I think all of us would have loved to see at some point an Oiler-Penguin final. It never happened. But that would have been, for me, late 80s, early 90s. That's what I was always hoping for.
Yeah.
Is Edmonton-Pittsburgh in the final.
Even in 90 when they got the Bruins, like maybe the Penguins, so Lemieux mess, even though Gretzky gone, right? Like for that
it would have been cool. So that's kind of the answer to your question. Where I was
dialed.
I was dialed. And the other thing about being here, once you get here, and Whit knows this because he was here a short time, but those guys are unbelievable, like unbelievably approachable. Obviously, you work with Gretz all the time. It says something when the best guys in the history of the game are the best guys, right? Gretz, Paul Coffey. It couldn't be kinder to me. Like, and he's in the midst of it, but he still like comes back even now in the crucible of the Stanley Cup final. Spent an hour on the plane chatting, and just he's a good guy. Like, these are good guys, and maybe it's just being secure in their own skin what they did as players, or maybe it's just they were phenomenal people. And Edmonton was so lucky to have that big of a group of phenomenal people, and all of them are great. Like,
and they're all still around. Like, not all the time, but they'll be here.
Yeah.
When I was here, at least, you'd see them randomly, and then you're right. They are approachable. They'll come in the room, talk to the guys. And it does make the organization pretty cool because it goes back to their great teams and their greatness, and you look forward to that happening again, kind of.
Like a passing of the guard. And you brought up Paul Coffey. Like, could you have envisioned him hopping behind as a D coach and him being 10 out of 10 out of that too?
Well, I wasn't sure how that would work out, to be honest with you. Like, I wasn't like, oh, it's a slam dunk success because he hadn't done it. But the one thing Paul does, and I should have known that because we had become friends by that point. Like, we were good friends, and he's got an old school mentality. And I know that a lot of people, initially always say, well, you can't talk to those players like the way you once could. I think when you've got a resume like Koff, like he does communicate. I don't know.
It's like talk it a little where, because they did it, it makes it a little easier to be the bad guy.
Yeah.
If it's somebody who never played, whether that's right or wrong, but if it's Paul Coffey, Rick Tocchet, you're like, all right. And that's the background.
You don't want to be known as the guy butting heads with Paul Coffey.
Well, no, it's also not just about being the bad guy. Here's one of the things, and Chris Knobloch deserves a ton of credit. But Paul Coffey came in. The defensemen didn't sit all together when Coffey changed the room. I'm sure maybe you guys already knew that. But day one. So when they made the change, Chris Knobloch's the head coach. Koff went to Chris and said, "Hey, do you mind if I sit all the D together?" And Chris, to his credit, wasn't
he doesn't seem to have an ego at all.
Exactly. Secure in his own skin. So he said, absolutely, Koff, do what you need to do. So he sits all the defensemen together, and and you're going to have Louis on, and he'll tell you the same thing. He just told the D, like, hey, and he built a team within a team. And Koff was the kind of guy I think you would love playing for him. He's like, forget the forwards. Like, they're going to get all their credit anyways. We can make plays too. Like, start making plays. We are capable of being a really good D-core, and it starts with do the things you always did. You were all star players at some point. Have that same level of confidence. I'm never going to pull you. I'm never going to sit you down for trying to make a play. If you're tentative and indecisive, then we're going to have problems. But go out there and show the people why you're one of the world's best defensemen, one of the top 6 playing on one of the best teams in the NHL, because that's what you are. So forget all the accolades those guys are going to get. And he loves, but that's what you do, right? You build a team within a team, internal competition.
Yeah, and the defense, never trust a forward, stuff like that.
Exactly.
Like it's our team within the team.
And as a D-man, wouldn't you have loved to hear that?
Like, yeah, I was just like,
you're
off the ice.
Yeah.
Change.
Yeah, exactly. Like, for once, you've got a guy now not just talking about 120 points. And trust me, I mean, Leon and Connor, great teammates. Like, it wasn't a slight on them. It was just, hey, puff your chests out a little bit.
Yeah.
We're different mindset too, right?
And the D really took to it. I'm telling you, it made a difference. And again, I don't know what about the X's and O's. Obviously, Stewie's done a great job with the penalty kill. I mean, they just had a long streak snapped, a club record streak for penalty kills. So I think X and O's would be maybe his specialty, but Koss's ability to communicate, I think, goes, far beyond what any of us thought he was maybe, again, first-time coach, you're kind of, well, let's see how it works out. And he just dove in there with both feet, put in the work, and got on a level with the players where I think they really have embraced it and respect him.
And for you getting to do every game, you're witnessing, like, McDavid nonstop. Yeah. And so all these people in the East that see the highlights, you're seeing every play, 82 games a year. It's amazing to get to announce that, I'm sure, but is there anything that like people maybe don't know about him that you see? Do you know what I'm saying? Like within the team, like he seems so quiet and reserved, and then he explodes on the ice. But I don't know if it's a little different when he's around the guys and not all the media is around and stuff.
Well,
like that.
I think you guys have kind of seen a glimpse with some of those post-game interviews. He does have a dry sense of humor. I don't know whether you caught the question. They were asking him about the prospects, and he's like, yeah, I was talking to them, and they said they really enjoyed the combine, and he was like, I don't know what the hell that. Yeah, you don't have to give me the stock answer. I'm like, you could say you don't have to say you enjoyed the combine. Why would you, right? So he's got a dry sense of. I'll tell you this though, and it goes for the whole team. What you don't see about McDavid and Draisaitl in terms of the total leadership, they did something kind of silly for me last year. I hit 1,000 games, and we were on a road trip. The next day. So it was one of those where we played and then right on the road the next day. And Connor McDavid was the first and then not the last, because literally every guy on the team said, hey, congrats on 1,000.
Yeah.
So imagine little things. So I kind of took that as like, that's what makes a guy such a good leader. Like, why would he bother paying attention? First of all, it's like for a broadcaster, it's much less of a milestone of players.
Well, you're not eating before games. That's a big thing.
Take up for in soccer fun. I used to push Witt out of the way to get to the buffet line afterwards, which made things a little awkward at times. But bottom line is I just thought I appreciated that. Like I was a little kind of self-effaced, like, hey, you didn't need to do that. Like during the game, they did a little thing. But then when the players took time out to kind of say that, like, that tells you you're dealing with a good group of people, right?
Yeah.
And that's, I think, one of the things that's made Edmonton good the last couple of years is they are not one of the younger team. And I'm not saying a young team can't be a good group of people, but we're talking about fully formed adults. We're talking about guys who have interests beyond just video games and playing hockey. A lot of these guys have conversations. I mean, Zach Hyman has spoken out on a few things. They're fully like, they've either got, spouses, or now that some of them have kids, I think they've grown up. They've grown up. And I think all of us remember, like, as you grow up, you do have more empathy towards people, and it's an easy group to work for that. And I'm kind of rambling a little bit, but you're asking me.
Why is he making his own beer runs?
That was the one.
What the fuck is going on?
I don't know but that's him too, right? He's not big time. And I mean, I'll tell you right now.
You got people making you beer runs.
I'll tell you right now. I'd have Louis grabbing me. First of all,
drink them all.
First of all, I know he's not going to drink it because he's sober.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
But secondly, I know that he'd probably have to ask his wife to go with him, and then she would pick me out a good beer. So absolutely, I would utilize that, right? So I mean, that's the thing is he's a down to earth guy, and the fact that, like, again, you just remember little things like that, especially when you're on the periphery of the team. You're not in the locker room all the time. I mean, as you know, there's a separation, right? Like, I know the guys to a certain level, but I don't intrude on their lives. I don't get their phone numbers or anything like that. So when they do take time out, it means a lot.
We have to probably clarify the people listening to this. This is after the playoffs. This is going to air. So it's currently 2-0 for the Florida Panthers. How are the Edmonton Oilers going to get back in the series, and will they?
Well, I think they can, and here's why. Florida is a very good team, and I would say the same thing about Edmonton. You're talking about two elite teams, but I don't think either of them are so overwhelming that you can envision them losing 4 out of 5. I mean, Florida lost 4 out of 5 as recently as the end of March, beginning of April. I mean, it can happen. So in other words, you're not necessarily playing like the 13 Hawks or the 20 Lightning. I don't mean any disrespect to either team, but I think they haven't won it, and there's not this aura of invincibility yet. Now, who knows? One of these two teams might end up running off 3 cups in 5 years. We don't know that. But at this point, you can envision a comeback in this series. I mean,
but Florida's clearly the better team.
I don't know how you could make that assessment based on the fact that Bobrovsky absolutely stole game 1. For 32 minutes, for the first 32 minutes, Edmonton was skating rings around Florida. Now, it happened to be 2-0, but the shots are 24-8, and in that situation, sometimes the shot clock lies. That one did. I mean, Edmonton totally dominated that game. Now, Florida came right back, and again, as I told a bunch of Oiler fans after game 1, hey, Florida's not thinking, oh, that was the blueprint in game 1. They're going to come out and play much better. So Florida was much better in game 2, but I don't think they're appreciably. I don't think either team is appreciably better than the other. Now, one may handle this particular series far better than I would have anticipated, because I'll tell you what, the one thing that would have surprised me entering the Stanley Cup Final is a short series. I did not think the Oilers would steamroll the Panthers, and I didn't think the other to be true. I will say this. I go by the adage, maybe it's old school or whatever, series doesn't begin until a road team wins a game. Right. Edmonton's got to win one.
I went on a little rant the other night after game 2 and saying, like, you have 2 generational talents, and it's Crosby, Malkin when they were down 0-2 the second year against Detroit. If they don't show up and light it up, then they're probably done. But they're that good where I just can't picture tomorrow night them not like having a big night. Like they're the type of players that don't end up disappointing in what seems like the biggest moment of their career. So that's my thing on it. Now, if that doesn't happen, I'm completely wrong once again.
And there's a track record of it. Your comments aren't an opinion; they're actual fact. I mean,
Crosby had no points through the first 2 games in 2009.
Right, but also McDavid and Draisaitl are 2 of the 4 leading scorers in the history of the game, points per game in the Stanley Cup playoffs. The other 2 guys are 99 and 66. If you don't know they who are, check another podcast. So, I mean, they will produce. Now, what I would say to you, Biz, is they've got to get guys. They've got to have their Lundell. They've got to have their Rodriguez step up.
Yeah.
In these moments. So they're gonna need more than just those 2. They can't win it with just those 2. I agree from that standpoint is they could beat some of the other playoff teams they've faced with just those 2 going. They're not going to beat Florida, certainly not 4 out of 5 with just those 2 going. They're going to need a team, and they're going to need some of their guys, again, to fashion the kind of work that we've seen some of Florida's supplementary players fashion in the first 2 games.
Do you enjoy in the playoffs once it goes national where you're doing back to the radio?
I'm covering the Stanley Cup Final.
Yeah,
I mean, exactly. You could ask me to. I could sing the games if.
Do you announce them different?
No.
Okay.
I mean, not in terms of passion, but obviously on the radio, I'm painting a picture.
Yeah, so you do have to give more detail.
A lot more verbiage, a lot more. Yeah, TV is
a lot more airtime too, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, for me, I'm driving 90% of the show, and then Stoff pipes in. When I'm on TV, working with Lou, it's more of a casual conversation. Yeah. And I know Louie doesn't spend a lot of time in bars, but what we like is the feeling of, hey, we're inviting you in. Get a seat between us. We're up on a stool. We're watching a game.
Yeah.
That's how we envision the telecast. On the radio broadcast, you've got to be ultimately detailed because you're not seeing anything. I'm your guide dog, basically, right? So
yeah, while we're on this subject, I know there's a lot of listeners out there would love to be in your position someday. What's the best advice you could give somebody like that?
If you're thinking you're getting wealthy, don't choose this profession. I mean, there are some wonderfully talented people that I suppose took a shorter road than I would tell you there's not a lot of shortcuts. I mean, you've got to put in the time and you need some luck. I mean, there's a lot of quality announcers out there that haven't had the chance to do what I do, not because I'm better, but because they didn't get the break I got. I mean, that's
your buddy who's the neighbor of the guy trying to find a radio announcer. It's like
exactly like you need a little luck. You do, and I mean that's a tough thing to tell a young person, especially now. They want that instant paycheck, they want that instant gratification, that instant
more than ever.
Yeah, and I'm not criticizing them. I get it. Like I think that's one of the things we've seen out of social media is you can become an instant star doing whatever it is you do on Instagram or TikTok or whatever. You can self-make yourself, but in this particular game, you've got to put in the work, you've got to put in the miles, and you've got to get a little bit lucky. So, and that's like a lousy thing to tell somebody. I mean, basically, I'm saying,
well, it's the truth though.
Right away.
And it's like, you dream of being in the NHL. There's 600 roster spots, whatever. There's 32 of you, and so it's like it's looking at like trying to be a GM. Like there's just so few spots. You got to be realistic, I think, and be willing to grind, knowing it may never happen. That's the thing.
Even for players outside of maybe the top 100 in the league, and I would think you'd agree with me, Whit, at some point you need a coach to believe in you.
Rob Scuderi.
There you go. Certainly you, Bez, like you needed a coach to be like, hey, this guy has something.
He had Twitter.
Well, I actually had the opposite. They were like, you can't play D anymore. But you can't even play your position anymore. I just needed a coach to believe in my backward skating.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, honestly, but you do need help from certain guys that elevate you into a platform where, hey, now some of my abilities can kind of take over and I can take it from there.
It's all adrenaline. Your call that went crazy viral the last, I think, minute 30 of Game 6 against Dallas.
Oh, against Dallas?
Incredible. Like you can't plan it because it's 2-1. You don't know what's going to happen. So at the end of that, you must just be breathing heavy, right? Like that's emotion. That's just energy. It was a great call.
We had to give him mouth to mouth.
That's where the pipes come in. And Louis would be the first to tell you that guy never gets tired. I do. I'll yell all day. You're like, if it's like he's seen me on the golf course, if I get rolling and feel like giving you the gears a little bit, I'll go all day long. Like I am the worst kind of person to be around under that circumstance, especially if I sense I've got you on the ropes a little bit. That's what happens when you go to college. Like
you got to know how to take one and give one.
Yes, you get a group of buddies, and it's just they're just waiting for you to say something wrong, and then it's like 8 people, like you idiot. I mean that's the way it goes, right? And that's the kind of the buddies that I had. So certainly, when I sense any kind of weakness, I'll keep going. So no, the pipes, thankfully, and they haven't given out just yet. I'm sure everyone around me is looking forward to that day, but right now they're still going, even after games.
So Bill Brask,
you've done an unreal job, man. It's great to have you on. And you got anything else?
One last, I don't know what a contract situation is, but we got an opening in Boston just now.
Long discussion. You're going to Boston Celtics.
Wow, tampering. This is tampering. This is bad karma, by the way. Down 0-2 in the Stanley Cup Finals to be talking about.
We're dropping away. I know. Well, it's on an ABC, but yeah, we do have an opening. Jack Edwards is gone. They haven't replaced him.
He's aware, all right. Well, he knows what to talk about. All right, he's aware.
He retired.
The Bruins are a team in the NHL.
Enough to the Leafs. Enough to the Leafs.
All right, no, this is great, Jack.
Thank you so much. You do a great job, and congratulations on all your success.
I appreciate that. Thanks so much for having me on.
No, pleasure was all ours.
What's up, guys? Before we go any further, I need to talk to you about Viator. We mentioned Pasha's on his little excursion trip over to Europe right now, and Viator helped a ton with that. It makes it so simple to do what you want to do and enjoy your vacation the way you want without having to stress over different decisions and where to go eat and where to fly into. And Viator makes it just easy. And when you're on vacation, that's what you want. You want things simple. You want things easy. And that's why Viator is the best. It's a tool you can use to plan and book all your travel experiences all around the world. The Viator app and website make it easy to explore 300,000 plus travel experiences so you can discover what's out there no matter where you're traveling and what you're interested in. Viator helps you plan the perfect vacation experiences for you and your family. Free cancellation helps you plan for the unexpected. 300,000 plus travel experiences to choose from means you can plan something that everyone you're traveling with will all enjoy. So it doesn't have to be like, this guy doesn't want to go do this, but we got to do this. No, everyone can do their own thing because there's so many different options. 24/7 customer service, so you can know you'll get support at any hour if things aren't going as planned, which is a huge relief. It's not going to be closed. You're going to be able to call and get everything figured out if something goes wrong. And real traveler reviews. So you get to hear insider information from people who have already been on the experience that you're actually considering and that you want to do. You're going to be able to read what everyone enjoyed or maybe didn't enjoy about that activity that you want Viator to plan for you. So download the Viator app now and use code Viator10 for 10% off your first booking in the app. Find travel experiences for you. Do more with Viator. Thank you very much, Jack Michaels. Awesome interview. We enjoyed our time with him, so we want to say thank you to him. And just quickly to wrap this thing up, this tweet from Puckpedia says, for the Oilers to match both, this could basically get them a compliant roster opening night. Kane to long-term injury reserve, which obviously would have to be all year, so that is a question Biz already brought up. Matthew Savoy up in the NHL. Derek Ryan down in the AHL, and Troy Stetcher down in the AHL. So, yeah, I mean, if you say it like that, it's like, oh, that could work. That could easily work. But it's just...
Yeah, play with three lines in 5D all year. Just to squeeze these
so
guys
many
in.
different things. It's so hard. Being a GM, man, people think it's somewhat of a cakewalk. I think it's got to be one of the most stressful things you could ever do. Being involved in pro hockey is just trying to figure everything out and being the man in charge who has to take the credit or just get shit on when things go bad. So they're paid handsomely, but it's not an easy job. Speaking of GMs making moves and players moving around, Patrik Laine is a Montreal Canadian, Biz. And I won't say shocking considering he was given permission to talk to teams, him and his agent did talk to Ken Hughes in Montreal, and kind of they obviously were satisfied in the discussion with him on where he's at mentally and physically. And the Canadians traded Jordan Harris from Montreal along with a second rounder, I believe. Montreal got a second rounder with Laine, kind of basically to take that cap hit off of Columbus's hands.
It's a lot of money.
With Montreal being very deep at the defensive position with prospects, I kind of love this deal.
I love this move.
This is like Montreal needs goal scorers. They need size. Now, Laine can be such a dog and be so lazy, and there's times you're like, what the hell is this guy doing? But if he's focused and he's determined and he's feeling it, and you got a second rounder in return, which could also, and I'm not sure exactly what year the second rounder is, but Columbus could be horrible again. I mean, that could be a really high second round pick if it is this year. Maybe it's the year after, I don't know. But it's exciting with him in Montreal because of that fan base and what they're starting to crave and how that team is looking to the future. And the fan base has been patient, but they also love a flashy goal scorer. And now
they love a comeback story too, buddy.
Yeah, they love a comeback story. And now this guy's going in, and the skill has never been questioned. The shot has never been questioned. The size, the reach, he's got it all. It's does he want to play? And now with a guy like Martin St. Louis, who seems to be very, very good at getting guys fired up and getting guys excited and giving guys specific roles on what I need from you, these new age style coaches, I think that this could be a pretty cool story. And I think you could see Laine, if he's in shape and he's focused, if he gets 35 goals, would anyone be that surprised? No. At least I wouldn't be.
But I agree with you in the Martin St. Louis thing too. Like sometimes I don't want to say like soft is the bad word, but sometimes some of these new skill guys, they need to be coddled a little bit. And I feel like Martin St. Louis has probably seen his fair share of guys exactly like him throughout his time playing. So for him to come in and try to get the best out of him, I don't think that's going to be that difficult. He's had a few off years and maybe lacked a little bit of motivation. I think that fan base is going to spark, especially if he gets off to a hot start, couple goals in the first couple games. They're going to fall in love with this guy, and it's a no-risk move. Like you had to fill in some of these top line roles with some competent guys and take a little focus off the other young stars in the lineup. And hopefully he teaches them a thing or two. So I love it. I think this is a team that I'm starting to fall in love with. I know a lot of Ottawa fans think we're fucking crazy based on where we think Ottawa is versus Montreal. They seem to think they're going to be a bottom 5 team for the next 5 years. I could see a lot more growth and maybe a surprise team in the East to be able to snip one of those wild card playoff spots. Maybe I'm talking crazy, but they have good young net mining. They have a good young decor, and they have a lot of young forwards that are out to prove a lot. Like, think of how many people were shitting on Slavkovsky. So he's got to be coming off with a chip on his shoulder. I mean, you got, you know?
Yeah, I do. I think that I don't think they're playoffs yet. I'd be shocked if they're in the mix for the playoffs. Now, maybe with 30 games to go, they're, right there, a couple points out, but I just don't see them making it this year. But if this year is a growing year and like I said, like in March, they still got somewhat of a chance, even though you're like, it doesn't look great. That's a step up. That's all you need. When these organizations are going through these years, it's tiny little baby steps. It's like one step forward, two step back, but then all of a sudden it becomes a little bit easier to see the future and see what's going on. But now, like up front, when you think of Suzuki, who's totally proven himself as a point producer. He can play defensive hockey. He's a great player, good captain from what it seems. I mean, we interviewed him. He said about 3 words, but that doesn't matter when you're a captain, right? You can be a quiet leader. But then Caulfield and Slavkovsky making that jump after I was ripping on him last year, how good he looked. And most importantly, Kirby Dach coming back. Now, health has been an issue for him, but if that kid is able to stay healthy, like I think right there, adding Laine to that crew and that core, there could be some big-time jumps this year from development and developmental wise for guys that are like, all right, we see a bright future here. Now, I like what you're saying about kind of no risk. Now, it's a bunch of money, but that's really not like Montreal. They're not in any sort of cap jam right now.
That's a front wipe. That's a front wipe for the Montreal
just
Canadiens.
A quick front wipe.
Yeah. That's a couple days of beer sales.
I think Montreal trading Harris just made sense. Like this one thing I'm reading, like Arber Xhekaj, Justin Barron, Jaden Struble, Lane Hudson, and Logan Mailloux are young defensemen. Like it was his spot was already a little questionable. Like it's an asset that you're able to move. Kind of similar that when I was traded from Pittsburgh, it's like we got Letang and Goligoski. We don't need this fucking freaky ankle big eared punk. We don't need this guy anymore. Get rid of him and bring in Kunitz. So sometimes when you have a surplus at one position, it's a lot easier. And then you're taking this risk of like, oh, dude, we could be getting the 40-goal guy. Now, it hasn't been a 40-goal guy in quite a while, but a new surroundings. And I did appreciate what Don Waddell said in that, like, we don't want anyone here that doesn't want to be a part of the Columbus Blue Jackets. Like, we need people who are proud to be playing here, who want to be a Blue Jacket, who want to have success here and get this team turned around. And when he made it clear, I don't want to be here anymore, it's like, all right, buddy, we're going to do whatever we can to get rid of you. And they did. So it's an exciting move. Can't wait. It's just like if he'd gone to, say, there's 25 teams he could have gone to where it's like, all right, let's see where it goes. But when you go to Montreal, it just adds to the kind of mystique of what is the storyline going to be. And you did say, if he gets off to a hot start, then all of a sudden the crowd gets behind him. There's another side of that. If he plays bad, he plays bad.
I don't think it'll be that. I don't think it'll be as bad as you think because the expectations overall aren't there. I just think it adds another exciting storyline for the Montreal Canadiens going into next year. Like they handed over Slavkovsky, the big deal. They got Lane Hudson coming in. The other kid who just signed as a defenseman got like the 6x6 Goulet. Goulet. So it for the past couple of years, I really honestly didn't give a flying fuck what was going on with the Montreal Canadiens. We're now all of a sudden going in. I do. I think that they could be a surprise team. And if you're the Buffalo Sabres or you're the Ottawa Senators, if they finish higher than you in the standings, you're an absolute fucking joke, right? Those teams got to be praying not to finish below the Montreal Canadiens because their fan bases will be fucking blowing up. They're going to be going crazy. Could you imagine being a Buffalo Sabres fan and seeing the Montreal Canadiens finish higher than you in the standings in this upcoming season and not making playoffs again? You're going to flip your fucking lid. That's a season ticket cancellation waiting to happen right there. Lindy Ruff or not, Whit. So pressure's on. And Detroit.
We are all over Buffalo and Ottawa.
What do you mean,
it ain't
buddy?
going to stop if they don't start doing something.
That storyline along with Detroit is not going away, buddy. These fucking teams have been in these teams have been in limbo far too long. And if you're going to see like a team like Montreal, where they were a couple years ago, surpass you based on all the expectations those three organizations we just said had, Pooh-wee, we gonna see fireworks, boy.
Well, we might see some other fireworks in the trade department. I don't know. Do you have something else to say quickly?
Well, I thought the fireworks you were going to bring up would have been in Colorado with Mr. El Capitan potentially coming back for next season.
Buddy, I got to be completely honest with you. Like, in thinking of Colorado, we've kind of seen like their cap issues and like there's some uncertainty there. But like it's been so long. You haven't seen Landeskog play in so long. You almost forget. And then you just see these quotes that he could be ready for the season. And it's just like, I just hope for his sake. Forget the fans who obviously need their captain back and the team. But I hope for him, it doesn't end the way that it kind of looked like it could or looks like it could. It's like, that's a guy who's given his heart and soul ever since he came into the league. He's fought. He's played physical. He's scored big goals. He's a Stanley Cup champion as a captain. And he's possibly going to be back. And what that would do to that room, dude, because we know the Nate Dogg, while dominating, he is an intense human. And I bet you that there's sides of that team who, when Landeskog's in the room, it's like somebody that can maybe calm him down a little bit. Maybe I'm off base here, but maybe Landeskog's like one of the guys who could be like,
enough.
Relax, Nate. Like he had a little bite of a Snickers mini after the game. It's okay. He had 2 goals. So I just want to see Landeskog because of the way he's kind of carried himself throughout his career. You're left thinking like it can't end like it looks like it could, right? Like, and injuries are just a part of this game. But from the sounds of it, he's worked his bag off to even have the chance of possibly starting the year. But I would love to see him back, and that just changes that team completely.
So I hope I don't get in trouble for this or get Tyson Barrie in trouble. By the way, I'm in Victoria right now. I got a chance to see him. His wife's about to give birth. I mean, I would imagine by now she might have already given birth to have their second child. So congratulations to Tyson Barrie. But we were talking about the Nate Dogg, and I'm like, what the fuck is this guy doing for training nowadays? Like, what next level has he brought it to? And he goes, Biz, he goes, on game days, he doesn't even skate anymore. He goes to the pool, he goes underwater, and they do these tumbling exercises where they kind of, they like kind of spin him, and all of a sudden he's got to catch where he is and like get back. So he has like way more social awareness. So it helps for his vision on the ice and just scanning and being able to like get back to base. That's where these fucking guys are at now, brother. I mean, you're talking Snickers bar. No, this guy's going Michael Phelps in the pool underground doing spins like it's the fucking Matrix.
Like
that's
synchronized diving.
Just kind of like, yeah.
Him and McCarr have to just figure out like the diving routine. There's no more pregame skate. It's going off the 30-meter fucking diving board and just making sure we're in sync going into tonight's tilt against the Dallas Stars.
Maybe Tyson Barrie was fucking with me, knowing that I probably was going to go chime in about this on the podcast. So maybe he's like, I'm just going to
be an amazing move.
Which either way, we got good content coming your way. So as they say, don't let the truth get in the way of a good story. Tumbling. So I will be joining the pool and the tumbling exercise before Chiclets Cup. I'm going to add
after the triathlon or before?
Before.
Okay,
I need a little bit more. It's actually going to help me with my social awareness too. So that's the best part.
Your social awareness?
Social and spatial awareness, both of them. The pool.
You think it'll help your like game in the bar maybe a little bit? Like, hey, I'm feeling great trying to wheel this girl tonight. I did 14 tumbles at a 10-meter
tumble over the next
pool.
one. Tumble over the next one. So I know we kind of got off track between Landeskog, but completely agree, buddy. He's the guy in the locker room that can calm things a little bit more down. He's so well respected. He's the ultimate Swiss Army knife in a sense of you want him to play net front, he'll do that. You want him to win pucks below the goal line, he'll do that. If he needs to fight the other team's tough guy, we know he's willing. Can he score big goals? Yeah, he can do that. He can make plays. So he is just an absolute honey badger that if they can get him back at $7 million playing the way that he was when he was fully healthy. Now, my understanding what was wrong with him was it was a knee that wasn't tracking properly. Like the knee wouldn't track, so it would constantly be causing him pain. And from a hockey standpoint, with your knee flexion, a decent amount of the time your knee is going beyond your toes. So if it's not tracking properly, that's just going to fuck you up and cause pain every single stride. So I don't know what they've done in order to cure that, or if it was just more of a time thing. But at the end of the day, even if he can't play hockey, if he can go life without pain anymore, that's the biggest thing.
Yeah,
that's numero uno right there. So could be
it's like when you
huge lift.
It's so true when you're playing. I got to get back. I got to get healthy playing. But then later on, when you're where we're at, it's like, oh fuck, man, you just got to make sure you can live a pain-free life. And I mean, waking up with pain every day is nightmare fuel. But it is weird that for one of the teams with true Stanley Cup aspirations, a top team in the league in Colorado, like they got crazy question marks going into this year. It's Landeskog, and will he be able to give it a go? Will he be able to be the player he once was? Will he be able to play it all? And then it's Nichushkin. Like, will he get reinstated in November? So it's an odd year as like Avalanche fan to be like, we don't really know where we're at. We have these two of the top 5 players in the league in McKinnon and Makar, but we're not sure like where we're gonna be come December or January this season. So a lot of questions like this year's NHL season. I don't know if it could possibly be as nuts as last year, but camp storylines are already like buzzing around different cities. Another city with a big camp storyline, I guess not as big because he's been in the AHL, but is Nashville and their goaltending super prospect of Yaroslav Askarov. I hope I'm saying that okay. Biz, most kind of eye-opening thing for me, besides his numbers and how dominant he's been in the NHL, and now he's requesting a trade and he will not report to the AHL in Milwaukee. I think looking at pictures, he's added a neck tattoo since he became a pro.
Oh yeah, bad boy.
He's got a monster neck tattoo, and in pictures a few years ago, he doesn't have it. And now these current ones, I think I'm seeing an enormous neck tattoo. Neck tattoo people are fucked up. I remember that, and no offense if you got a neck tattoo out there, you could look phenomenal with a neck tattoo. But neck
David
tattoo
Beckham
people are
has one.
like, I feel like neck tattoo people are like, I'm never really gonna have that legitimate of a job where I need to look presentable. Maybe this comes off as super offensive, but I don't know if like a true finance or businessman's like walking into a meeting with a neck tattoo and like the client's like, we need this guy. Now, if you're a starting goalie in the NHL or you're like a UFC fighter, yeah, it's pretty sick.
Yeah.
What do you think? Remember Bugsy had one that just came out of the shirt. Like it was like 1/8 of a neck tattoo. And I used to tell him that's just to remind everyone there's a lot more beneath what you think this little mini neck tattoo is all about. So maybe this is like Askarov is going to be a future superstar and like in Sons of Anarchy in the summers. Don't know.
Yeah, it definitely screams like I don't really actually give a fuck, and then meaning it, like asking for or saying to a team, if you try to send me to the A, I'm fucking out of here, and saying it to a guy like Barry Trotz, where I don't think he takes those types of public comments and actions very well, and we've seen that in the past. If he's a bad boy, in my opinion, fucking get him over to Anaheim. Buddy Gibson. They got this young core group coming up. They got some unbelievable pieces, and you got this kid with a chip on his shoulder. Like, I love Gibson, and I think he's done a great job there for as long as he has. And in the last 4 or 5 years, they've been absolutely brutal, and it could just be a bit of a mental fuck. Let him go off and like win some games and have some fun in the latter years of his career, and get this Askarov in there and get these young bucks buzzing in Anaheim. To me, that's the move. You got this kid who's going to be out to prove something now. It's almost like bringing Brizgalov back, another fucking wild card Russian when they had him. Why you got to be so mad, man? Huh? Why you got to be so mad?
I'm looking at because the no matter how amazing of a prospect he looks like, without like true NHL success, it's very hard to like look at somebody and be like, this is our future goalie. Like even if he had one stud year in the NHL and requested a trade, like Jack Eichel, I'm just thinking of very proven players that are like, I don't want to be here anymore. It changes things, but he hasn't really proven it yet. And he could turn out to be a 3-time Vezina winner. But if I'm a team that like has a high prospect pool, like I'm looking like San Jose, Chicago. It's like, all right, we already like San Jose. We got Celebrini, we got Smith. We have pieces, and then this could be our goalie. Chicago, we got Bedard. They got so many young guys in Chicago. This could be our goalie. So then it's like he's coming up with everyone else, as opposed to a team who's like thinking of competing now. That wouldn't make any sense to me. Like some people threw around Toronto. Grinnell mentioned he read something of like maybe
this is
maybe
ultimate rumor boy.
That's rumor boys. Gee, Grinnell might have read that in the sand or in the bathroom taking his poop before his engagement of Mitch Marner to Nashville for Askarov and a first-round pick. Seems a little crazy to me, but Grinnell's throwing it out there.
And to correct you, I think when you were talking about him early on, you said NHL numbers. You might have meant AHL numbers and or in the KHL.
No, I was saying he doesn't have like NHL numbers yet.
Okay. Maybe I misheard like a dummy.
And he has played some games, right? But he hasn't like proven it.
No. There's nothing there to hang your hat on. But I mean, half these fucking GMs are sending over the 8x8 after 100 games played in the National Hockey League. So who gives a fuck, right? Seems to be like everybody's on that regimen nowadays. But hey, a little spice in Nashville before the season kicks off. I mean, they showed that they believe in Soros. They give him that extension. They keep the band back together, and I think the writing's on the wall. And I don't see a world where that can't exist. Why not give Askarov the net for 25, 30 games the first couple of years? Like, what's the big deal here?
Because, like, I think you don't want two guys. You don't want. Maybe you want the healthy competition, but it's like you've signed this guy for 8 years, 7 years. It was Saros. Like, what's the point what's the point in having this kid who could be a stud? Like, he's looking at it like, I'm never going to be able to get this job. Like, it's hard. Do you know what I'm saying? Dude, that's hard to do.
Yeah, well, my bet would be is bring him in, keep him up, because you never know, like, health of goaltenders. Like, he pulls a groin, next thing you know, True. He is a starter. He gets to get all these games, and the next thing you know, his value's through the roof. Everybody wants him. And or, who knows, man? I mean, fucking maybe you got a great 1-2 punch, at least for the next couple of years, where you can keep his salary down. But then, you know, by the time he's up for a big deal, then, hey, or even before that, just leverage. So I like the fact that he got ahead of it, though, and he's like, hey, fuck, if you guys want to send me down, I'm gonna fuck off back to Russia. I think that was pretty much it, other than that the Wi-Fi story.
Exactly, Biz. An awesome story. I think everyone who's seen maybe different sports guys buy their parents' houses and things that you get to witness of athletes paying back their parents for all the sacrifices they gave. Well, Arber and Florian Xhekaj presented their dad with his dream car this afternoon. And it's a beautiful, blacked out, what is that word? I want to get my car. Jet black?
Matte black.
Matte black. I mean, I'm a guy who wants his car like that, and I don't even know what it's called. I think it's kind of a neck tattoo thing to have that matte black look. It's awesome. But they were able to present their dad with his dream car, probably something that he's like talked to them about years and years ago or recently. Like, I love this car. And like, just being the two guys that they are, they took it in and they're like, dude, we're going to get this for him someday. We're going to get this done. A Mercedes-Benz AMG C63S. I mean, I can barely even read the name. I had a Mercedes-Benz at one point. I had a SL 550 white, and I called it the Cloud. It was like driving a cloud. It was incredible. But then I'm a family man, and I got the big old SUV.
You've had some pretty sick whips throughout your days.
I had some sick whips. And I gave my dad my old Escalade, so I don't think that's nearly as cool as buying him a Mercedes-Benz AMG C63S.
Yeah, so, cum stains on the back seat.
Just gross, just loosies, breakers everywhere all over the house. It was but all over the car, excuse me. I just love seeing this stuff. I actually, somebody was telling me a story of somebody who like saw a clip of an NFL player bought his mom a house, or he like brought her over saying, I'm going to look at a house. And then he's like, what do you think, Mom? And she's like, I don't like it. And he's like, well, I already bought it for you.
Oh, so, no.
at least the Xhekajs knew that their dad wanted this weapon of a vehicle. And I think that the fact that this news broke today and we interviewed this kid, what was it, about a week or two ago?
Yeah, about 2 weeks ago.
I want to get your take on this, and I hate being the guy trying to pump up everything, but if you've had complaints or maybe issues with some current players being a little quiet and reserved, which I totally get, but as a listener, you're probably like, I just want a little bit more. This is the opposite of that. This is a current player who came on and let it fly with us, and it was an awesome, I believe, over an hour conversation. Yeah. And hearing this kid's like life story, it's not only incredible to hear, but it's uplifting. It makes you want to be a better person the way he's approached his life. And it's just cool to see that him and his brother did this special thing for their dad on the day we were going to drop the interview anyways.
And in over the course of the interview, he tells this incredible story about how his first contract ended up being signed, and I won't ruin it, but just very refreshing to get a young guy really open up, and the stories were incredible and very meaningful, and I think a lot of young players can take a lot away from this, who have even ones who haven't been drafted, about his approach and how he took it upon his own hands to get to where he is now, and all the work and effort he put in, along with a lot of sacrifice from his parents, which he shares. So thank you to Arber Xhekaj for coming on, and we will no longer be calling him Wi-Fi. He doesn't like that nickname. I got carved out online from all the Montreal fans, so we're hanging that one up. And Arber Xhekaj, Montreal Canadiens.
Enjoy. Now we are joined by somebody, Biz, long overdue, freshly signed new 2-year contract with the Montreal Canadiens, and according to Biz, a top 5 toughest player in the National Hockey League. Arber Xhekaj, what's going on, buddy?
Not much, man. Thanks for having me, guys.
Oh,
what do you make of that ranking? What do you make of the ranking?
Top 5 is good, man. That's good. Second year in the league, top 5. Oh, that's great stuff.
Yeah, it is.
How's the summer going so far? Where are you spending it? And I'm guessing you're training with your brother, who's also a Montreal Canadian, based on his contract.
Yeah, I'm over in Hamilton. Me and my brother, we train in Burlington together. So he's a beast too, man. He'll surprise a lot of people. And I mean, he had to fight me growing up his whole life, so it'll be interesting to see what he does, man.
I know most guys maybe call you Wi-Fi nowadays, but before that nickname, it was the Sheriff in junior. And we're going to get into all that, but just like, how excited are you to finally get some security? I mean, I know it's been a long road for you. You were undrafted in the OHL, undrafted in the NHL, and finally you get this 2-year one-way deal with the Montreal Canadiens to, give you a little cushion and a little bit of, I guess, confidence in you as a player to keep growing in the organization.
No, it's awesome, man. It's such a good feeling to get a little bit of security here and kind of extend my tryout to another 2 years to hopefully get locked in long term. But it's amazing, and couldn't be happier to be a Montreal Canadian.
Based on the past and your history in the game, like the way you say, like, keep my tryout going, is that how it's been for you since you're 15, 16? Like, every year I'm out to prove myself. There isn't much security. Even if there is, it would be your mindset to think otherwise?
Yeah, that's how I always been. I didn't get drafted to the OHL, and then I went to junior B tryouts, and they can only take 2 16-year-olds. So I was like, all right, this is my tryout here. I got to make this team, and then get an invite to a couple OHL camps. I'm trying out there, and then draft comes around, NHL draft, don't get drafted. I'm like, okay, there's another way. So I'm always trying out,
I was going to ask if you've always been a scrapper, and then going back to what you just mentioned, your junior B, you're the 1 year you spent with the St. Catharines Falcons. You end up making the All-Star game there, and then you end up getting in a dust-up in the All-Star game. Like, how the hell did that all go down?
Yeah, that was a funny one. So I'm in the All-Star game, and I had an okay game, but it wasn't great. And then I was like, you know what? Like, every OHL team's in this building. Like, I got to do something. So this one kid he was pissing me off. Me and him go at it in season. He's another 16-year-old on the other team, and he was kind of slashing the back of my leg. I turned around, whipped the mitts off. We went at it, and then literally as I went to the room, like, the guys are still on the ice. As I walk in the room, I had 3 scouts like knocking on the dressing room, like, is Arber in here? And I had to talk to them right after. It was my first kind of chat with the OHL scouts. So it was pretty hilarious.
It's amazing that's like a true thing. It might sound ridiculous. I remember going up to a top prospects tournament, like OHL draft age. I'm from Boston, and my dad's like, hey, if you get in a fight, it just looks good. And as a kid, you're like, I guess so. But no doubt you saw it proof. Like, the scouts come looking for you, and that, I guess when you went to the they knew, all right, this guy's willing and able. It's always been a part of who you are.
Yeah, I mean, Like it was actually crazy. They literally pulled me out and they're like, holy shit, man, this is the All-Star game. Like you're throwing the mitts off. Like, you know, you get suspended in season 2. And I'm like, yeah, like it's all good. And then, no, when I went to the Kitchener's camp, I was kind of like I was trying to go everyone. And I was like, you know what, I got to do something that stands out from these other guys. And that's kind of been my pathway, is just find something that other guys are not willing to do. So that's kind of how I do it.
What I'm impressed with, though, is I guess this isn't meant as an insult, but you can play too. Like the way you shoot the puck. And that was one thing. It's like, oh, I heard about this tough guy in Montreal system, and they signed him, and he worked a summer job. Where was it at again?
Costco.
Costco. So the whole storyline was amazing going in. So I started watching you. I'm like, he can move the puck. Great shot, as I said. So when did you realize, like, all right, it's not just going to be the fighting aspect. Like, I can play too. Or was that the role growing up? You always had the skill, but the other side was just part of it.
I think there became like a few years where everyone started growing and I was kind of stuck and I didn't hit my growth spurt yet. So I went from the biggest guy to the smallest guy real quick. So then those years I think were big for me. Just like, I'm like, okay, if I'm not going to be a big, heavy, strong, tough guy, like I got to be a skill guy. So I really dialed in like the hands and like I studied all the offensive defensemen, and I was kind of going along the route where I was going to be an offensive defenseman. And then I grew, and now I wouldn't say I'm an offensive defenseman, but I have a little bit of skill in the back pocket for sure.
Who were you watching? Like, who were the guys you were trying to emulate, and like what game footage were you watching?
I was watching like Drew Doughty and Erik Karlsson and all those guys, and like their little moves at the blue line, and just kind of how they carry the puck up the ice and what they do. And I was watching their games, watching their highlights. I like Zach Werenski too. I was watching him a lot, so.
He's pretty.
You're going to go up to Lane Hudson in camp, be like, buddy, I was you before you were you. That was my game.
Hey, we're gonna be asking that guy to show us some stuff for sure.
Oh yeah,
exactly. Yeah. You're of Albanian descent, is that correct? Your father's Albanian?
Yes, and my mom's Czech. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, there's not many former Albanians to play in the NHL. I think the only name that popped up online was Ty Domi, who's partly Albanian. Is that fiery spirit in the Albanian blood? Is that kind of like, what's Albania like? I know nothing about it.
Where my dad grew up, they say it's like the toughest town in all of Albania. So it's pretty hard nosed. I mean, back when he was growing up, there was a lot of war, and that's kind of how he ran away from home. Like, he didn't want to go to war. So it was pretty crazy to see kind of where he's came. And honestly, it's funny because his favorite player was Ty Domi, obviously, because the Albanian descent. And the best part is he got to meet him this year, and they hit it off, and they took a picture like doing the eagle like that. So my dad, like, anytime you mention Ty Domi, he's going to tell you like, he's the best guy. Like, we hit it off right away. And my dad's funny. He's like fresh off the boat. So it's like, he's got the thick accent and everything. So he gets excited. So it's awesome.
When did your dad come over? How old was he?
I think he was in his 20s when he left. And then he went to England for a little bit, and then he came over here.
I read a story that actually it was this year, and your father doesn't normally call you on game days apparently, but it was February 17th of this past season, and he goes, you got to get one for Kosovo. And I guess it was it just a line that you were playing on the day where they were celebrating independence. And now Kosovo, is it a bordering country of Albania, and is that where your father's from?
Yes, he's from Kosovo. So, but their nationality's all Albanian. So yeah, he's from there. He gave me a call in the morning. I was like, what's this guy calling me on game day? Like, he usually calls me after, and he's like, it's Kosovo Independence Day. Like, I want you to get one for us. And I ended up scoring that game, pretty nice shot. So I talked a little bit about it in the media. So it was awesome.
That's awesome.
All right. So he comes over, he's in Canada after being in England. I don't know much about the Albanian men's ice hockey team, but I'm guessing that your dad never played, didn't know anything, and he gets you into the game. Like, as a youngster, what's he telling you? He can't give you tips on how to stick handle, right?
Yeah. No, so when he came over, he ended up in Toronto, and he saw like everyone's crazy for the Leafs. Like, what is this hockey? So he didn't know nothing about hockey. It was more my mom. Her brother played pretty high level. I think he played with Yager at one point in some kind of junior league or something. And so he's around the same age as Yager is, so they played together, and their dad would always go goalie for pond hockey and all that. So my mom was big into hockey, so she told my dad, kids are getting into hockey, because my dad was big on soccer. So, and he said, I don't know what it is, but sure, let's do it.
That's unreal. Was I guess, was it a little bit discouraging at the fact that you weren't drafted to the OHL? Were you expecting to, given with where you were at that period of time? I know obviously going off to Junior B was a big step for you, but before that, like, was there any signs that you might end up in the OHL?
Not really. I mean, I was a really good player when I was younger, playing in Hamilton, and I was probably one of the top players in kind of this area. And then as everyone grew, I moved to Toronto, and I started playing hockey there. And then they had all their guys in the GTHL, and that league's like crazy competitive. So then I kind of fell down the roster, and I was playing a 5 or 6 role. And 3 years of that it kind of slipped away a little bit. And all the guys were coming in the room saying, yeah, you guys talking to any scouts? Because we're talking to scouts. And I was like, I haven't talked to not one phone call, nothing. So I don't even think I had an agent at that point. So I didn't expect to be drafted, but when I watched the draft with my one buddy, we were like looking at the guys that were getting picked up, and we're like, okay, we're just as good as them. Like there's a chance for us. Like maybe the draft isn't it, but no, there was definitely, after the draft, there's definitely a little bit of doubt kind of where my career was headed. So
at a young age, you can kind of start seeing there is politics involved. Like, as you mentioned, there's GTHL kids and their dads know people, and it's like, it can be, you're basically like undeservingly not getting drafted. So were you like aware of that? Were you more like, I could get there, it's just not going to be as easy? Or were you more thinking these kids are actually that much better than me?
No, the biggest thing for me is I always think I'm right there with, like, if they can do it, why can't I? Like I always thought, like, yeah, I'm just as good as this kid. I'm just as good as this guy. Like, I'm right there. Like, I don't see him doing that much more than me. I don't know if I'm delusional or what, but even when I went to Montreal's camp, I was like, I fit in with these guys. Like, why can't I play? I can make it this year, So that's kind of just my mentality.
Of those 3 teams of the scouts that came up after that Junior B scrap, was one of them Kitchener? And how did you end up there? Because I actually talked with Jay McKee, who was your coach there, and he filled me in with a few stories. But before we get to that, just like, how did you end up getting to such a good organization in the O?
They weren't one of the teams. I think the 3 teams were like Guelph, London, and somebody else. I think Barrie maybe. But I had a chance to try out for a few teams because their camps were all on different weeks. So I went to my first camp. I went to Guelph's camp, and then they wanted to sign me out of rookie camp, but they were kind of like, our team's going to be stacked. Like, I don't know if you're going to play every game. Like, you might be up and down with Junior B and OHL. And I was like, okay, I don't want to do that.
At least they were honest about that.
Yeah. And then I went to Hamilton Bulldogs camp, and like, it's funny how I ended up there after, but I went to their camp, and then they were all scrambled because they just won the OHL Cup, and they had guys going to NHL camps, and they were kind of like, we don't know what we're going to do. Like, I don't even think I got an invite to main camp, to be honest. And then I went over to Kitchener's camp, and they were like, we really liked your rookie camp, but like, do the same thing at main camp with the actual guys in the team, and you have a good chance. So, and that's exactly what I did. So,
how many fights at that camp?
Yeah, just gooning up.
Were you gooning it?
No, but I think I gave a guy a cross check and chipped his tooth, but I don't think I had any fights at that camp. My brother had like three in one game at Kitchener's camp.
Oh, wow. Oh, Florian?
Yeah.
That's
so
incredible.
Like they pulled him in after he also tried out for Kitchener, and so they pulled him in after that game, and they're like, buddy, like, you don't have to just fight. Like, we know you can fight. Like, this next game, like, no fights, because he literally fought 3 guys in one game. Like, I think it was back-to-back shifts.
That'll get you a lifetime ban in the O now.
Yeah,
you can't even call a guy a pussy anymore.
No, you're done.
That was probably after you guys left. They changed all the rules. They had to.
Yeah.
Too much sheriffing going on out there.
Exactly. Yeah.
What like I went to Kitchener actually this past season, and like incredible organization, like awesome pedigree of players that they've developed in the past. I think they've won a couple Memorial Cups. What was it like from a daily basis getting to go and train there and develop all your skills with one of the best CHL programs in the world?
Yeah, like you said, it's one of the best programs in the world, and honestly, it's like I've heard like firsthand that it's better than a lot of even American League programs. Like the treatment's top notch. They're so professional with everything they do, and like just going there, using the facilities. Like it's my favorite barn I've ever played in junior. Like I know I played there, which I'm a little biased, but like it is unreal. Like every game they're packing the odd, and it was just an honor to play there. It was awesome.
So you have to deal with like undrafted. You're at all these different camps. You're finally with Kitchener, and boom, COVID hits. And it was a disaster for so many guys. Like we've talked about Wyatt Johnson and barely playing his draft year, and you dealt with it directly. How did it like come about where you realized like I'm kind of fucked next year? I don't know where I'm going to play. I don't know what's going on. Like take us through that whole scenario.
Yeah, that was pretty wild. So my OHL career kind of was my first year. I played 50 something games. I think I had 3 points. I played like 20, 30 games on forward, fourth line, couple shifts a period. Like it was tough. And then my second year is when I started to get better and better. And then after that second year is like kind of when I started taking off. COVID hit right away. And I honestly think if I would have got to playoffs that year, I think I probably would have got picked up by a team. But since I didn't, they were kind of like, I was still unknown because I did talk to a lot of teams after that season, and that was like not my draft year, but the year after. So it was my 18-year-old year, and then COVID hits. I was like, what am I going to do now? My buddies are all going to play in Slovakia. Everyone's getting out of town, like going to play somewhere. I'm like, I tried to go out there, and then they wanted me to pay like a couple $1,000 a month. I was like, I don't got no couple $1,000 a month for you guys. So yeah,
off to Albania.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I didn't know what to do, and that year I think was a big year for me. Kind of where I separated myself from everyone is because everyone kind of took it easy and laid back a little bit, and we're like, it's just COVID, like it's gonna last a long time. And for me, I was grinding. Like I was probably in the best shape of my life during COVID. Like I stayed at home. Like my mom's feeding me like a machine. I'm working out every day. Like I was going to work. I had such a steady schedule, and it was a good year. I mean, me and my brother, we stayed on the rollerblades and found a couple rinks that were open and we could skate on. So it was pretty wild.
That's what Zeev Bouillon said when we had him on. He said he took that time during COVID to do the exact same thing. Now, were you just chucking weights in the garage with your brother?
Yeah. And my trainer, like he moved his gym to his house. So he kind of moved everything to the backyard. So we'd go in his backyard and we'd work out, and it was a wild year. Like some things would open up for a bit and then they close right down. And yeah, I had no idea what I was going to do. Cause I'm like, how am I supposed to show anyone that I've gotten better? You know, like I'm just on the ice with 4 guys maybe. And yeah, it was wild.
It seems like that comes natural for you where you have that self-motivation, but what do you think propelled you at that time to just like take that stance? Like, was it motivation from your family, from your brother pushing you, or was it just this internal thing where it's like, I have to get to the next level and I'm going to put all of my resources into it? And not only that, the reason that I found out about you to begin with was during that time you were training and staying at home, you also ended up getting a job at Costco. So it kind of you're living like basically like a grown-up life.
Yeah. I was like a normal kid. I wasn't no OHL player anymore. I was nothing. I was just a normal guy, like working and training training before work. So I would wake up, I would wake up, go to the gym, and I'd go on the ice right after, and then I'd go to work 5 to 10 at Costco. And that's kind of when I set my schedule in. At first I was just working and working out when the rinks were closed, but no, it was pretty crazy. I was like, I got no money. Like, I got to get a job. I can't be sitting around all year. So I ended up working there for 9 months, and then I got fired, and, and then they closed a bunch of the departments and only had the food open. and I was kind of the lowest ranked guy there. And they're like, "Yeah, you're gone." And
I heard
had a
you
lot of
kept showing up late because you were so
Yeah.
busy training and then on the ice, and then you'd show up late, and the lady's like, "Hey, you need to quit out this hockey stuff and start taking your job at Costco a little bit more seriously."
You could be
Oh, that
employee
was-
of the month if you really put your mind to this.
That was wild. I was driving from hockey straight home, shower, grab my food, eat in the car, drive straight to work. Like I'm showing up 5-10 minutes late, but I told them I'm like, guys, I'm chasing a dream here. And I got pulled in by one of the managers one time. She's like, you know what? Like everyone who comes to Costco, they say this is not their end all be all. And like, I said that too about myself, and look at me now. Like it's a great place to like build your way up. And like, I know my kids play like high level sports, and I know what you mean, but like, it's like, you just got to come to reality at some point and pick whether it's Costco or hockey, because we can't have you like not committed to Costco. And I was just like, stunned when I walked out of there. I was like, what is happening? Like I got bitched around so hard in there. I was like, I can't even believe what's happening right now.
I don't think you can make $1 million a year putting flat screen TVs into people's back seats, buddy.
I don't think so.
I don't
She's
think
like,
you're
I
that
had
good
a dream.
at that.
I had a dream too, Arber. It was to be the #1 server of pigs in a blanket around aisle 8. Focus your mind towards Costco.
Were you doing the sampling?
No, we didn't have those because
Okay.
COVID. So
COVID.
they
Oh,
took
yeah,
those
shit.
out. Yeah. But I was doing everything. Like,
Yeah, try the
I
new
would-
COVID
I would-
cookies.
yeah, I would stand out front with a clicker and count how many people are walking in the store for 8.5 hours. I was pushing, I had to get off the buggies because my back was so mangled. Like, I'm like, I can't even ski. Like, my back is completely twisted up here because I'm pushing 30 buggies at a time trying to hurry up. Trying to get out
Rocky
of there.
Balboa. Rocky
But
Balboa
in all
training.
seriousness, like you are chasing a dream at that time where everyone was. I mean, everything's canceled, everything's closed. That had to be the furthest you felt from the NHL. Like I don't know what's up next year. I'm not drafted. Were you able to kind of grind through that? I mean, obviously you were able to, but there must have been moments of wondering, like, what am I chasing actually?
Exactly, man. It was that year mentally was tough because I think what helped is they kept saying like the OHL they're gonna open up in a month. So then everyone's grinding to get there. Like then they closed down. They're like, okay, we're gonna open up in December. And then they didn't do that. They're like, okay, we're pushing it to January. They kept pushing it, so we had something to kind of look forward to. And then when they completely said like we're not playing, I was like, oh my God, like what am I gonna do? Like I only have an overage year. Like I have no idea what I'm gonna do. So that was kind of tough. I just stuck with it, and yeah, it ended up working out pretty well. But it was definitely dark at times for sure.
Where do you get that internal drive? I sometimes get long-winded with my questions, and I asked you about 5 minutes ago, like, where does that personal drive come from?
It comes from my parents for sure, I think. I mean, they came here with literally nothing. Like my dad had $0 in his pocket. Same with my mom. Like I don't even think they had a suitcase. Like they started a whole life, and we see it day in and day out how hard they work. And to put two boys through hockey, like we're not millionaires here. Like we don't have that much money. We're getting by day to day, like taking out bank loans and all this stuff just to get the boys through. And I think that's a big motivator for me and my brother.
Before you end up going off to Montreal in that last year of junior, Jay McKee, who was your coach in Kitchener, had moved on to Hamilton, and you end up getting picked up, getting to go play in your hometown. And then you guys end up winning the OHL championship. That must have just been a complete whirlwind and probably put your name on the map in order to make that next step.
Yeah, I couldn't have wrote a better story than that. It was so after COVID, I got a few calls from teams saying to like come to their camps, and we ended up going with Montreal because we kind of saw the D that they were into. We saw the Edmondson, the Sherrod, Weber, Petrie, like big, strong guys, and that's kind of who I was modeling my game after. And so I ended up going to their camp, signing out of their camp, and then going back to Kitchener again, traded to Hamilton, my hometown. We ended up winning it. So it was like, I couldn't have wrote a better story than that. It was unbelievable.
Do you think in that playoff run, because it's 4 rounds in the O and then you're in the Memorial Cup, you played well enough because your numbers were phenomenal in that playoff like season? Do you think that's when like, all right, I've already been to a Montreal camp. Like now I'm really showing up where more teams calling.
No, I was already signed.
So, you already signed?
Oh,
then?
no shit,
Holy
eh?
shit.
Okay, nice.
I didn't know that.
No, this is a good story. I can tell you guys. So
yeah, I love it.
Yeah, so I went from COVID. So then the draft happened, the COVID draft. I get a few calls before, and they're like, "Okay, we're interested." Like, you know, those draft meetings or interviews. I had a bunch of those before that draft. So teams were still taking notice from my second year where I kind of started taking off. And then after the draft, didn't get picked again. I think Toronto called me, Florida called me, and then that was it. So me and my agent were talking, and we were like, okay, like we were checking the prospect pool, and we're like, okay, like let's go to Florida. And then after that, I was like, wait, just give it a second, like wait a few days. He's like, no, like we can't keep the NHL teams waiting. Like, and I was like, just give it a second, like something's coming, because I knew Montreal was super interested. And like, that's my favorite team. That's where I wanted to go. So I was like, wait a bit. And then they ended up calling me and saying like, trust me, come to our camp. Like you do well, like good things are going to happen. Come to our camp. So I went straight from COVID. And my first game was against the Ottawa prospect team, like whatever, rookie tournament. I went straight from like almost 2 years of no hockey. And then that was my first game, and I was lost out there.
So
like,
wearing an NHL jersey too in that game.
Like I was so nervous the whole time. I got out there. I was complete. I just worked at Costco like 3 months ago, and I'm putting on a Montreal jersey, flying around. I got absolutely rocked twice. Like I had no awareness of where I was on the ice. Like man, I haven't played a game in 2 years. Like whatever. So I played that first game, didn't play well. This is going to be a little bit of a long story, but
I love them. We love this.
I want to tell you guys. Okay. So I get rocked twice by the same guy. I think it was, honestly, I think it was Kaselik on the Sens. Yeah. So he hammers me twice in one game, and then another guy was like pushing me around. I didn't do anything. So after that game, there was a few like Montreal scouts who like came down and were like,
"What are you doing?"
Hey, hey, we heard you were this big tough guy from the OHL. We saw you get rocked twice. And there was 30 guys upstairs who saw you do nothing about it, right?
No
so shit. I was like, oh my God. Ooh. I was like, oh my God, I got to do something. So get in the car, call my agent. I was like, I got to fight someone tomorrow. I got to do something. Like, so then the next game, a guy was coming down on me, and I hit him, and it was like an awkward hit. Like I blew the guy up, and he was down on the ground screaming. Next thing you know, Kaselik turns around. We get the mitts off. I haven't fought or whatever in 2 years too. I'm like, here we go. And he's like a big boy. Like at the time I think he was bigger than me at that time. And everyone was kind of scared of him in those games and whatever. We have a good fight. And then the guys kind of walked by me and gave me like the props, didn't say anything, just gave me like the knuckles. And then I played well in that game. I played well in the next game. They invited me to main camp. So then they put me in the game against Toronto Maple Leafs. So I literally go from, once again, working at Costco, 2 years of no hockey. And then I'm in the Rogers Center putting on a Habs jersey, about to go play the Leafs. So I'm just I'm lost. We get out there, like I can't even feel the puck on my stick. Like I was so nervous, and I didn't play too well that game. I think Jonathan Tavares is out front of the net with me, and I didn't even want to give him like a cross check to box him out. He tipped one, scored. I went in that game like -2, and then whatever like a funny story too was so I get on the plane, and I think me and Goalie are like the only two young guys there that like they kept for the games. And everyone sits down. I'm like, we're talking to each other, like, okay, we're gonna let everyone sit down, and then we're gonna find a seat on the plane. Because like I'm recording like the PJ on Snapchat. I'm like, let's go.
I made it, Dad, from deviled eggs to PJs.
Fuck you, Carol from Costco. Look at this.
Yeah, I was like, Carol, look at this. I'm wearing a tux. I'm going on a PJ right now. Like, so yeah. So I was like, let's let everyone sit down, and then we'll grab a seat. So everyone sits down, and what do you know? The only seat available is a card seat. beside Toffoli. I was like, no way I gotta sit there.
Super
like,
rookie.
No way. Yeah. And it was the seat facing everyone too. So there was no seat. So I walk up to Toffoli. I'm like, hey man, like is anyone sitting here? He's like, nope, all you. I pop a seat. I'm facing every guy. They're all looking at me, shaking their head like, what is this guy doing?
Goolie's like, what are you doing, bro? I'm front row.
Goalie was loving it.
He's like, I don't know. I just lost my per diem pack, though.
Goalie was loving it in the back. He thought it was hilarious.
I thought this was Go Fish.
Yeah. So I'm at the card table, whatever, and then so I didn't play that good. I was pretty nervous, and then after that game, we went back and we played an inter squad game, and I played pretty well, but I knew I was getting sent home because I saw my stick bag. Like, my sticks were all taped up in the room. I saw all my spare sticks taped up. So I was like, with the other guys, and I was like, oh, I'm going to get sent home here. So we had a practice, and there was only one more game being played against Ottawa. And we had a practice. And in that practice, I was like, I got nothing to lose. So I went right up to Richardson, who was the D coach at the time. And I was like, hey man, like, I need another game. Like, I don't care what it takes. I need another game. Like, I was like, that was not me. Like I was nervous. I was starstruck. Like, I haven't played hockey in 2 years. Like, I'm not making excuses for myself, but just give me one more game. Like, please, whatever it takes. And then I guess he went in the coach's office and told them, like, this kid wants one bad. So they ended up putting me in against Ottawa. And even after I signed, I talked to like the trainers on Montreal, and they said, yeah, you were going home after the inter squad game. Like, you were done. And I was like, I knew it because I saw my sticks taped. So I asked him for another game. Nothing to lose. If he sends me home, he sends me home, whatever. At least I tried. So I play against Ottawa, and I play like a great game. Like, I played good in the inter squad game, and then now I played another good game. And then right after that, they called me in the office and signed me.
No fucking shit.
It was
insane. Like, you were done, dude.
Have you talked to them? Did they have that plan, or did you taking that initiative and asking for that kind of just sparked them to be like, this is the type of attitude we want?
That's what we want. That's what we want.
I have no idea, but I did talk to the trainers, and they said, yeah, we had your sticks all taped up. Like, you were heading home. So I played like the red and white game. I played really well in that game, but even after that, I think I was still done. And then
they'd already crossed your name off. That's what you know what I mean? Like, going into camp. Like, yeah,
exactly.
Arber, I tried that one time, and you know where they sent me? The fucking coast. I didn't even get to go to the A.
Oh boy.
I was just in the wrong organization. Yeah. Give me one more.
So basically it was like, give me one more story, and I think Rich loved that. Like, he's a guy who loves that stuff, and he already liked the way I played. So I ended up playing really well against Ottawa. Like, I played a great game, and then after that, they're like, okay, like, Berge wants to see you. They call me in the office, and he has his mask on. He's like, we're going to sign you to enter the contract. And I was like,
what?
My heart sank. And I was like, can you repeat that? Like, I was like, where's like the parade? Like, no, this is awesome. But like, he said it so quiet. His mask.
He's like,
I was like,
Bane in fucking.
And I was like, did this guy just say they're going to sign me? Like, what is happening? And then I got to go.
Great story.
Yeah, I got to go back to the hotel, and my parents were there because they came to watch the Ottawa game. So I literally opened the door to the hotel, and like, I looked at my parents. I was like, guys, like, we did it.
Oh my!
And then
God.
my mom like breaks down. My dad, they both start crying, and like,
oh, buddy,
that's incredible.
What a story that is.
That was probably my favorite moment of like, I have like my favorite NHL moment. That is it. Like, when I just got to walk in and say, guys, like, we did it. And like, my mom's like, what are you talking about? We did it. We did what? I was like, I'm signing.
Like, so, I'm a Montreal Canadian.
Yeah.
Fuck, so I didn't expect to cry on this pod. Jesus Christ, Wi-Fi. You're bringing it all, man. Oh, that's an emotional story, man.
I haven't told that story to too many people, but no, that was a special moment for sure. It was crazy.
I was just going to ask quickly, like, at that camp, like, was Weber still around? Like, who were the vets you got to hang around with on the defensive side where maybe you picked some skills up off of, like, who made you feel a little bit more comfortable around that group, especially at the fact that you hadn't played a game in 2 years?
I think Sherrod, Savard, I think Petrie was there. Weber wasn't there. Edmonton was there. So I got to kind of just go off of what those guys were doing. And my D partner was Chris Weidman for the last game. So he ended up being my partner my first year too. So it was pretty funny, but no, it was crazy.
And from my understanding, he's the one who gave you the Wi-Fi nickname. Like, how did that story? Do you like the nickname or do you like the Sheriff better?
I don't care. Like, whatever the people like, I like, it doesn't matter to me. I don't get offended by anything, but no, he didn't give me the nick. He didn't make it up, but he brought it to the team. Like he found it on a comment on one of the pictures of me, I guess, at camp. And then the next day we go to the rink and he said like Wi-Fi password. And then like for the rink and it was Jack-I-72. So that was, and then the guys started calling me Wi-Fi, but they don't really call me Wi-Fi anymore. But
we interviewed him a long time ago, Biz. And then the whole Uber story broke. Remember,
we had it in the bank and then we had to burn it because the Uber thing came out.
I like, he's such a good dude. I'm like, oh, this fucker got burned by an Uber camera.
No, he's great.
So at least if you're in an Uber with him, he's probably like, heads up on what you say here. I think I've been in an Uber with Biz since, and he's been like, dude, who knows what's filming right now?
Oh, I just like, hey,
no, seriously,
tighten the ship.
Every time we get in, he's like, every time we hop in the Uber, he's like, is this being recorded? All right. Like he's dialed.
When was the first time you wore a fedora?
I don't know who it was that I saw and that kind of inspired me, but I don't know. I saw a guy do it in the NHL once. I can't recall who it was, and then I went to H&M and I bought like a $15 like black fedora for junior, and I started rocking it, and that was kind of my thing. And I still wear that same hat to games, and like people are like, that hat's awesome. Like $10 H&M, boys.
yeah. People think it's like an $1,800 fedora. You're like, nope. Yeah. That was a Costco employee giveaway of Christmas season.
Yeah. So I got some nice custom hats now, but yeah, that was kind of my main hat, and I always wore that one. So
I love that.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but your first NHL fight was the Cassian one, right?
Yeah.
So that's when everyone, I remember just being like, what the fuck? Who is this? Cassian's a tough guy. They're down 3-0 first period. He kind of goes up to you and you gave it to him. Like for a tough guy to see someone like Cassian kind of get beat up in that way, like you made a name for yourself. And then all of a sudden it's like Delorier's coming. Olivier's coming. Like you had to know right away, all right, well, this is going to be my role and I'm willing to accept it.
I thought after that fight, I honestly thought I was going to fight every single game. Like the next game was Jamie Benn. Me and him were running each other in the corners, and I grab him, like, are we going to go? Like screaming at him. He's like
relax,
settle
kid,
down.
relax.
He's like, settle down, kid. Like, yeah, you're a big boy, but calm down, bud. And like, I honestly thought I was going to fight every single game. Like I had such adrenaline because, in that year's, rookie camp, I fought a guy on Ottawa and like, I think I knocked him out. And then I go to main camp and I fight another guy in Ottawa, beat him, fight another guy in Ottawa, like back-to-back games. So I had 3 fights going into like Cassian. So I'm like running on an all-time high, made the roster. And then that game, Cassian wants to go. We're up 3-0 in the first period. Bell Center is like buzzing off the charts.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
oh my God.
It is buzzing. And then get to the bench. The coach is like, hey, like there might be some guys that you're going to want to challenge you, like get some energy back. Like, and I look at the coach, I was like, if they challenge me, we're going to, like, I'm going to go. And he started laughing. And then next thing you know, live for a face off against Cassian. He's looking at me and I'm just smiling at him. Like, I don't know why, but I was just like, I was smiling at him, laughing. He's like, what the fuck are you looking at? And then I was like, I'm looking at you, like, and whatever. He got pissed at that. And then off the draw, I guess he told Weidman, like, hey, man, I'm going to beat the shit out of this kid. Like, and Weidman's like, hey, man, like, he can hold his own. Like, it's not going to go how you think it's going to go, right? So, and then whatever face-off goes, he looks at me, he wants to go, and center ice, we just throw down. So
that clip, I watched it last night, getting ready to interview you. So you go to the box, you can tell the Bell Center's bumping, and then you see Robitaille. He goes down and says something to St. Louis, and then like Burroughs is kind of laughing. So you definitely told them, like they're probably like, this fucking guy's an animal.
Yeah, like he literally said, guys are going to challenge you. We have this game 3-0. We're okay. And I said, if someone challenges me, like I'm going to take care of myself. Like I got it. I think I literally told him like, I got it, coach. So then after he went down the bench, and he's like, I told you they were going to fight. And Burroughs loves it. He's laughing. So it was pretty hilarious.
If you play for the Habs, you're celebrity status. You're like a New York Yankee in New York. The moment that fight happens, when you would go out on the town after that, was it a different type of celebrity? Did like everybody know your face now? Did you did you feel that energy from the city and the fact that they're like, oh yeah, we got our guy?
It was insane. Yeah, it was like something else. Like, got people chasing your cars after you pull out of the ring. They're like, oh, Wi-Fi. Like, it was nuts. And like, still to this day, like when I do like signings and stuff, or someone catches me in the street, like, you beat Cassian. Like, they love that, because I think he ran Montembeau or something, and there was like a whole thing about how like Montreal didn't step up to that. Like nobody stepped up and fought him, and I guess I was like their savior for that. So that was pretty.
Yeah, you are.
It was pretty funny.
Is it there? I think it was G telling me before we hopped on about Slavkovsky, where it just so happens like the first part when you first got there, he was getting lit up every game, and you ended up fighting the guy who would hit him. So all of a sudden, he had to start buying you dinners or some shit.
Yeah. He was like, obviously he's used to the European ice, so it was tough for him, like, to see the ice, and he was obviously like, he grew up always the biggest guy, right? So he didn't have to have his head up or anything. And guys are all like, you know, you saw with Bedard this year, like guys they want to take his head off. Like they're all trying to take his head off. And every time he got smoked, like I was there and I mitts off right away. Like, but yeah, he started buying me a few dinners, so it was pretty funny.
Well, so this past season, you had a little bit of explosion, right? Like somebody like me, not sure of kind of who you were, and boom, you hear about it. Like I said, I'm watching you play. I'm like, he's playing with an edge. He can play. Going into this year, expectations are sky high, and you end up getting sent down to the minors for a little bit. So I'm just wondering, as somebody who went through that as well, like it had to be a little bit of a tough blow. Like I was flying so high, and all of a sudden my game's not where it needs to be. So when you went down, where your numbers were phenomenal, was your attitude as good as I imagine, where it's like, all right, this is just kind of it's a little chink in the armor here. Like, I'm fine. I just got to find my game.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, like it was only highs. Like from the first time I signed with Montreal, like winning the championship, making the team out of camp, whatever. First season going well. Obviously I had a shoulder injury, but like everything was just going up, and then that like hit, and like the world got flipped upside down. I was like, oh my God, like, what do I do? Because I got hurt for 3 weeks. And then as I was coming back, like I didn't even get a game or anything. Like I started skating with the team, and then right away they were like, you're going down to the minors. So yeah, that was a
little bit
tough.
More of conditioning then, because if you've coming back from an injury and it happens, that's not as bad as like -3 games in a row and going down.
Yeah, no, I wasn't playing as good as I did the second half of the season when I got recalled, but I wasn't playing bad. It was just more of like a you're not, like, don't get comfortable here. Like, we want more from you. We know you can give more. Like, don't get comfortable, because like, boom, just like that, you're gone. You're packing your bags. You're going down. You're going down to Laval. So I think it was more of that, and they didn't give me a time frame or anything, and I think that's a good thing, because if they gave me a time frame, I maybe wouldn't have taken it as I did. But no, I got down there and I got close with the boys, and as soon as I got close to the team, like I loved it, and I was working my bag off. I was like, I'm not going to act like I'm better than anybody else here. Like,
yep,
this is my new team, and like I'm here to protect you guys and play the game, you know?
That's awesome. And you got to play with your brother as well. He was there, right?
No, he was there at the end of the year.
Oh, you missed him?
Yeah, I missed him.
Yeah. What was it like playing in Laval? I mean, because they haven't been around as far as an AHL team very long, and they must have very passionate fans. And do they pack the building?
Oh man, like 10K every night, full barn. Like they rock the place. Like it is unreal. Like a lot of people that maybe can't afford a Montreal ticket or something, or maybe it's too far far of a drive for them. Like they go to Laval games and they are just passionate. Like they rock the building. Like first time I stepped on the ice, they were going nuts. And I was like, all right, this is great. Like, no, it's I think it's the best rink in the AHL. It's awesome.
That makes it a lot easier, Biz, than going like to Binghamton back in our days.
Yeah, Bridgeport. There's 100. There was like a snowstorm in Bridgeport, and then we did a game. Everyone put in $50 in the locker room to guess how many fans. And I think Elaine Nazardine won. He guessed like 60 people. And 60 people. Oh yeah, buddy. But to go back to you, and I know that your role is a little bit more defensive in the NHL, but you talked about the skill set you had at the younger levels, like when you were playing in the OHL and even before that. Were you able to at least get a little bit more ice time and maybe play in that, like 3-4 role and kind of get that confidence back as well?
Yeah, when I went down there, I was playing at that 1-2 role, so I was out there all the time. I was power play guy, and I did play power play in the NHL too, but second unit, second unit, we don't get out much. But yeah, I was playing first unit there, and I just got to play my game. And obviously, with the more ice time, more confidence, more touches, I started getting that offensive swagger, and I put up some good numbers there. So it was good.
So it's only going to be your third pro season, but it's such a young team, and Suzuki being the captain, being that young, it's like the whole vibe around the organization. So you must feel like a leader already. And Hudson's coming in, that's a younger defenseman. And Goalie, you mentioned, like, even though you spent a little time in the AHL, it must feel to you as like, I'm a leader on this team now, and there's a different way to approach things.
Yeah. I mean, I think when I went down to Laval, I think they're even younger than Montreal. So it's like a junior team down there. So it was a blast to be around. And I think because I got sent down, I kind of brought my knowledge and whatever I learned from the NHL, and I was kind of sharing it. And I think down there is where I took I started taking on that leadership role again that I had in junior. And yeah, I think with all the young D and young prospects we have, I think, yeah, we're third year guys. Like we're starting to become like the older guys almost in a sense. And I know it's just our third year, but like you said it, like the team's so young that, yeah, I definitely feel like I have to take on a little bit of a leadership role and kind of set in stone what our idea of where we're going is. So
you did get surgery this off season. You've had 2 shoulder surgeries now. Were they on the opposite shoulders?
Yes. The right one was the first time, and the left was this past summer.
And you talked about how you're really focusing on trying to stay healthy the full season. I mean, as everyone would, like, what precautions or what things are you doing maybe differently in order to do so? Like, was maybe the training in the past a little bit maybe archaic or something where you kind of jammed yourself up a little bit?
Yeah, I think it was just the way I used to work out when I first started working out, and we try and lift as heavy as we can, and we were doing power cleans and all this kind of crazy stuff at a really young age. So I think that also had wear and tear on my shoulders. I think when I was fighting in junior, I always had some issues with my left shoulder. It always bothered me. And I think just the wear and tear over the years. So now that they're both healed, I think it's going to be great.
Good to go. You're feeling as good as you've ever felt?
Yeah. Like after I fixed the right one last year, like it felt brand new and it felt awesome. So now I got both feeling great.
I've been asked like by friends or random people, like best experience on the road in the NHL. Always, I say Montreal, like you don't get it. I try to describe the Bell Center as the seats it's like straight down where they're right on top of you. They're rocking like Fix You by Coldplay coming on the ice. I don't know if they still do that. That may sound ridiculous, but if you go to the game, you'll know what I'm saying.
Oh, chills.
Your time there, like every game, it's so easy to get fired up. And then the crowd, it just must be incredible to experience that for 41 games a year.
Yeah, it is. It's a treat every single time they play that song for us, and we're like, play that song. They fire it up. We all come flying out of the tunnel. Like, no, like I grew up a Canadiens fan, so I was watching them my whole life, and it like to be there now. It's pretty special. And I always tell people, like, they're like my friends from home, right? They're like, oh, you're gonna play in Buffalo? Like, we'll go to a Buffalo game. I was like,
No.
you guys have to make the drive. Like, I'm telling you, it just hits different in the Bell Center. And it is standing on the blue line for the national anthems. You're just looking around. You're like, holy shit, you know?
And they're right. Do you know what I'm saying? How they're just right on top of you.
Yeah, it's like the odd. And
Yeah.
the odds like that too. The steep stands, like they're like right on top of you, and you feel it.
They're so loud. They're so loud. Martin St. Louis. It must be incredible to get to play for a guy of that stature, but also just the way he carries himself. It seems like he's the most approachable guy, especially from like a young guy standpoint, where sometimes you enter the league and you have this hard ass coach where you don't really know where you sit. And maybe you're not getting direct advice from him because it's got to be the assistants, but he seems to be working with you guys firsthand and just the most approachable, lovable guy.
Yeah, he's amazing, man. Like the way you see it, that's exactly how he is. Like he's awesome. His door's always open. Like I know it's nerve-wracking to go talk to the coach, but honestly, like once you start talking to him, you're like, oh, here we go. Like I'm just chopping it up with the boys, you know? Like that's actually like how it feels. Like, but he cares so much about every guy, and he just wants you to be the best version of yourself. Like I think that's what's the best about him. Like he just wants, like he sees that you have more, and he's like, give me more, and I want it every single day, you know? So it's awesome.
I had a quick one. This might be a rumor, but I was talking to Snoop Dogg, one of his like managers, Mike, and you guys did a collab, didn't you, for merchandise?
Yes.
And then you went to a Snoop Dogg concert, and it just so happens that Ryan Reeves was at that concert. And then you guys end up in the back room waiting to meet Snoop Dogg, and you're standing about 5 feet from each other. How awkward was that? And how did that all shake out?
Yeah, that's not a rumor. That
What
happened.
a scoop is.
Yeah, Scoop guy biz.
Yeah, craziest scoop ever. So I went to the Snoop Dogg concert in Toronto because I wasn't able to catch the one in Montreal. So I went to the one in Toronto. We get brought to like the dressing room. That's where he had his room set up, and Reeves and Domi are standing right there, like 5 feet away from us. And yeah, I was just standing there, and Domi flies over and like says hi, and I was like, okay,
well, yeah,
like,
because you're out of his weight class. You guys could be buddies.
Yeah. We talk a little bit. So he came over and said, hi, how's your summer going? Whatever. And I guess he walked back over to Revo, and he's like, man, like, just go say hi. Like, what is this? Like, you guys are standing here like idiots. So
you guys are just doing a stare off?
No, we were just standing there. Like, obviously I knew he was standing there. He probably knew I was standing there.
Revo's old school though, dude.
Oh yeah.
So then he finally was coming up to me, and like we went for a dab, and then there's a whole squad of people that just walked through. So we're standing there so awkwardly, like with our hands up, like here we go. But no, I got to meet him. He's a nice guy, a great guy. Obviously, he's an old school guy, and we talked a little bit, and it was good.
If you go to dap someone up and it's somehow like delayed or it's
what do you mean? I try to do it,
and then you go to give the pound and you're just both like, what's going on?
Buddy, if you talk to the NBA, the NBA on TNT guys, they would probably tell you I'm the worst dapper on the planet. Every time they like go to give me one, I'm getting nervous. I don't know how to do it. And I'm just like, take my fucking hand, just take it.
You're overthinking it, man. You're
overthinking it. Yeah. I want that nice pop. You know, the
you
kids
need that clap. Yeah.
Yeah, I need that. So that's pretty cool. You got to do that collab. Now, RA's not here, and this is typically his favorite question. Who's the toughest guy you ever fought? And or have that's kind of what he usually asks. So I figured I'd throw it at you.
I mean, a lot of people like want me to say Deloria because he got the better of me. But like we didn't have like such a great fight, you know, we didn't have like a long fight, but I think it would be him in a sense because I actually hit a guy and then he grabbed me like two hands mitts off and I like look up, I'm like, uh-oh. And I shake him off.
Kind of like you did to Revo.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. So yeah, he grabbed me and he's like, you ready to go, big boy? And I was like, yeah, sure. And I didn't have a good grab and he popped me first shot right in the temple. So I'm like, can't even see out of this eye. And I'm like, here we go. And yeah, so I want to say him. He was my hardest fight because I think he got the better of me there. So, but no, Revo's strong. Like a lot of guys are strong. Like, even like Lowry, he was pretty strong, like tall. Jeannot's tough
Lanky.
too. Olivier, like Olivier won't go down. Like he'll stay up forever. So it's like a lot of tough guys, man.
He's kind of the guy that's forgotten about.
Dude, he's
Olivier.
the sneaky. When he got Rempe this year, it's like, don't forget about Olivier.
He could be up there. Like there's not many guys who would take on that guy. Like he'll eat as many punches as you feed him, and he's not going anywhere. So he's tough.
There has been a revival of the heavyweight division, though. Like you feel that. You feel like now, like half the games you're going in where you might get challenged by a guy who I just feel like there was this resurgence. And I mean, you could credit Rempe. I felt like when he came in, it even ramped up a little bit more. I don't know your thoughts or feelings on it.
Yeah, definitely, man. Like he flew in and fought everyone. So I mean, that's even when I got in the league first. Like I was fighting everyone, and then that kind of ramped it up, and then he kind of took it to another level. And it was like yeah, I feel it for sure. But last year I didn't get involved too much because I knew I had the bad shoulder, so that was tough for me seeing it getting ramped up, and I was like, I can't be a part of this right now. But no, it was, yeah, I felt it for sure. I have a funny story about Rempe actually. So I get sent down to the AHL. My second game, I think, in the league, I'm playing against like Rempe, right? So he's staring me down all warm up, and he knew a guy on our team, and he's like, yeah, like he wants to go. You guys are going to go tonight or whatever. And I was like, man, like I just got sent down. Like I'm not down here to fight. I'm down here to get better, like whatever. And first shift, he flies in and just destroys a guy, like headshot, like blindside, everything in the Bucks, like destroyed a guy.
I love Rempe. Like as a fan of hockey, I love the guy.
The guy he hit was half his size, so like
I know,
like I don't blame him for the hit, but it was questionable. And he's like, whatever, the refs blow the play down. It's my second game. Refs blow the play down. I'm on the bench. The entire rink starts chanting, Jack, God, Jack. The whole
your
rink.
shoulders mangled.
And then the jumbotron puts me up on the the bench.
For Christ's sake!
This is like the Quebec Senior League.
The whole crowd's like, yeah, you're going nuts. I'm like, oh my god! So I was like, I gotta do something. So I hop out there. They're screaming even louder. I go up to Rempe. I'm like, I don't know. I don't even know what I said, but I was just like, I just had to do something, man. Like the crowd's loving it right now. So yeah, that was a funny story about him, though.
You might have been in Laval forever had you not done anything.
Oh, he got sussy for the dirty hit.
Yeah, he got sussied a few games, so I didn't play him again. So that was it.
What are you doing in preparation for the fact that now that your shoulder is good? Like, do you take boxing lessons? Do you do any type of grappling? Like, what are you doing to prepare for the fighting element?
Yeah, last year I did grappling for sure. I did some boxing too. I boxed on the ice and off the ice. The on ice stuff is pretty tough, but because you have no, like, if you're not grabbing onto the guy, you have no power behind your punches, so you just feel like you're throwing like noodle punches. But yeah, I do some of that stuff, and I think I'll be able to start that up again now. I haven't been able to, obviously, because I'm still in rehab, but I think now I'm fully cleared to start. So I want to get wrestling with my brother a little bit.
Has George Larocque reached out?
Yeah, I've skated with him as well. Like I did a one session with him like last summer.
George is like, just be a lefty. George is like, just be a lefty and then just chuck bombs at people.
Yeah, I'm like, he's showing us stuff, but I'm like, yeah, but that's great for lefties. Like we need to see the righties. Like there's not many lefties. But like, no, his stuff is pretty deadly. So yeah, he's good.
You're listed, like you never know what to believe on the internet. You're listed 6'4", 240. Is that what you play at? Is that accurate, or are you right around there?
Yeah, kind of every year I kind of started putting on weight, but I kept feeling good on the ice. So yeah, I'm 6'4", 240. Yeah.
I mean, I didn't really have much else to ask you. Jay McKee did bring up a funny story where he told you to play exactly, or do whatever you did last night, do it every game, and you guys ended up going out till last call. Do you remember that one?
What was it? Oh, yeah,
I think you guys were like 22-2. You guys were on this massive heater, and you guys, he was just texting me some stories I was laughing at. I didn't know if there was an appropriate time to bring them up.
Yeah, I think that was definitely one of them. We won like every game in a row, and we're like, all right, we'll head out for one or whatever, and we go to the bar, and Jay McKee's in there. We're like, uh-oh. He saw us in there. He texts us right away. Head home, boys. Big game tomorrow.
He's like, I was here first, fellas. That's the rule.
Yeah, he's like, suck it, boys. I'm here first.
Is there any story that you thought we were going to ask you, which is a good one that we didn't, that maybe we don't know about, or if nothing, man, this has been an incredible hour, and you're so generous with your time, and we're so happy for you, just based on the whole story of you coming up and battling through all the adversity you have, being undrafted, and then finally getting a nice ticket. And that story you told about coming in the room and telling your parents that you signed, man, that's all time.
Yeah, thank you, boys. No, I don't think there's anything else. I mean, I tried to share most of the stories I wanted to today to you guys for sure, but no, thanks for having me, boys.
I guess my last thing is Montreal fans and hockey fans, they're going to see your brother come in with a vengeance, right? Like I got a buddy who was a scout in Montreal. He's like, you have to see his brother, dude. And you mentioned the 3 fights in one game, but I'm guessing he's going to show up looking to take on any and all like challengers.
Yeah, he's not the same stature as me. Like I think he's around 205, 210, but I'm definitely heavier, but he's got like long limbs. Like when he grabs me, he's far away. So like, and he's tough, man. Like that kid is real tough. Like, and he's not like, I think he's got a little more anger than me. He's got anger problems, I think. Yeah. For
That's
me,
you got the check. You got the check.
Yeah,
he's the real Albanian.
He's got,
type.
Hey,
he's
it went from Wi-Fi to the Bandwidth Brothers. You get the band. Can I coin that? Yeah. Sometimes I can pull a rabbit out of my ass. The Bandwidth Brothers. Man. Yeah, thanks,
Bandwidth
buddy.
Brothers.
Yeah, but no, he's a tough kid. Like I watched a couple of his games in junior. I'm like, why are you so mad out there? Like what's setting you off? Like you're pissed every shift, chirping guys every shift. Like what is happening? And he's like, I don't know, I'm just pissed off out there. I'm like, all right, keep it going.
He's like, I dealt with you as an older brother all these years.
For every fucking kid listening, get a little bit of that in your game. Because even if you don't have the most skill in the world, NHL teams are starving for players like that who can play with that fucking edge night in and night out. We actually just interviewed Pat Verbeek, and he was the same way, where he played with that spark every night. And that to me is what's needed a little bit more in the NHL. And we saw the revival of the fighting. I feel like it's going to be like a revival of almost old school hockey again.
Of the violence a little bit, Biz. Revival of the violence.
Yeah, definitely. Like I told him, I'm like, man, like he was a like super skilled player when he was younger, like best player his age, like really skilled, kind of the same thing as me. And then everyone else grew, and we're both late bloomers. So he was like, I'm not playing like Dad. I'm not playing like Arber. I'm not playing like Arber. Like I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to do this. Like my dad would just carve it in him. And like, I think me and my dad, we got it in him, and now he's an animal now.
He's unstoppable.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you very much.
We've created a monster. Oh!
I can't wait to see what your future holds in your career, and just to come on and give us an hour midsummer. We appreciate it. We're rooting for you, and good luck this season.
Oh, thanks, guys. It was an honor, man. Thank you.
The sheriff.
Before we go any further, guys, I'm here to talk to you about Sport Clips. Sport Clips is the only place you can get your hair cut. Grinnell, you see his hair in these pictures of his engagement? Sport Clips did that. And have you seen Fish's haircut that we ripped on for like 20 minutes last week? He didn't go to Sport Clips. So that's the mistake he made. Don't be making the same mistake as the Fish dog, and make sure when you get your haircut, you go to Sport Clips. You can't be choosing anywhere else. It's actually easy, because the stylists at Sport Clips undergo special training to be the experts in men's hair, making them the masters of mullets, the finessers of fades, and the understudies of the undercut. It's easy to have confidence in your look when you're in the hands of a pro. Just another way Sport Clips helps keep your head and your hair in the game. Don't make the mistake so many do and not go to Sport Clips. Do it right now. Sport Clips, it's a game changer. Thank you very much, Arber Xhekaj. Very interested to see what he has in store for this year. Some of the tilts we could see him getting in. True leader in the room, I'm guessing. And we appreciate him coming on. Biz, I don't know if you saw some news of Getzy, our boy Ryan Getzlaf. He joined the NHL Department of Player Safety. So always interested to see when former players get into that. And it's kind of a tough job. We had a long talk with George Parros at the finals that it is difficult, that you're kind of always the bad guy, and that you're like you're pissing off teams by suspending their players. You're pissing off players by suspending them. Then if you don't suspend, you're pissing off the team of the player who did something to the guy on that team. And so it's a tough job, but Getzey and George, I think, are pretty close. And it makes sense to me to have somebody that I really like the fact that George played as tough as he did and was fighting, and Getzlaf was a legit, mean, hard-nosed player. So it means a lot more coming from those guys when they are laying down suspensions or deciding on what to do for maybe punishment, because it's like, hey, I know the game, I played the game, I get it, and I still think that this is worthy of maybe a couple games off. So I think Getz will be perfect in that role.
Might be one of the more difficult jobs in the NHL, and you said it. The fact that he gets to work with Getzey, his former teammate, it's just like, it's a nice pair. It probably really alleviates a little bit of stress just looking at Peros, and both well-respected guys who know the integrity of the game, right? So it's the perfect, and it's a good way for Getzey to ease into working with the league too. He might have higher aspirations, but everybody's got to kind of pay their dues to some regard, where I want to say Brendan Shanahan did this at one point. You learn a lot about the structure and what's going on, about the rules, things that are happening behind the scenes, to maybe one day be involved in management. So a great way for him to get his foot in the door. And guys, it's nice to also have something when you're done playing. Something to get you out of the house, get back in the mix with the guys, and feel like you're back in the locker room again. So I'm glad we got the sandbagger when we did, buddy, because I don't think you're allowed to do it when you're working with the league like that.
No. You're
I think
done.
We're getting nixed. I don't think old Georgie boy is going to be swinging the wrenches with us anytime soon, unless he wants a piece of the action. Him and Gary will pair him up.
Imagine that. Oh, we're just torturing Gary on the links.
I asked Gary if he'd come on the podcast for an interview to open up the season, and he's like, "I'll get back to you." So
come on, Gary,
it's out there.
Please.
Come on.
He goes on McAfee and stuff. Gary, give us a chance.
We're not McAfee. We're just a bunch of peasants down here.
No, I know. But I'm not saying we're McAfee. I'm saying that he's done interviews. He's doing interviews very occasionally. Give your boy Biz a chance to impress you with some of his knowledge. And when he says whirlwind.
Yeah, that's a mea culpa. I don't think McAfee called him Kim Jong-Bettman, so maybe that's the strike against me that is holding it back right now. But I've issued a public apology. I've actually, in fact, changed my Twitter background to me and him at the TNT desk playing tummy sticks. Yeah, he was laughing at my joke. We're chumming it up. I'm in the good books with the league now, folks. Okay, I'm not trying to fuck that up. I'm right under Gary's wing here. I think what he's trying to do is he's trying to take me under his wing to maybe take over as commissioner, because my understanding is he doesn't want to do it much longer, and I think he wants to hand over the reins, and then that's when I'll probably impose the franchise tag when I take over as commish. But that's enough about me, considering we're here to talk about Ryan Getzlaf and his new position, but that's nor here nor there. I don't have anything else, Whit. I had a great weekend in Victoria. I didn't spend a ton of time here this summer, but Vancouver has been a blast. And I think we got, 2 more pods until we got a best of coming out. We still have a lot of incredible interviews coming your guys' way. I mean, we got Pat Verbeek in the bank. We got Bobby Holik. We got Charlie Coyle.
Both of those were great.
Oh, buddy. We got
great.
Yeah, Kevin Lowe.
God. Kevin Lowe in Edmonton. Yeah, we still have those. I hope everyone enjoyed Jack Michaels. I hope everyone enjoyed Arber Xhekaj. It's been a lot of fun catching up again. I just want to end on a little bit of a sad note from my kind of crew at home, and I've mentioned a lot of times my friend group at home. Like it's guys we've been very close for 25 years. It's a great group of people, and one of those is my buddy Bill Ryan. He actually works for the Montreal Canadiens, does a great job with that organization as a scout. His brother Mike Ryan. Bill was a 3rd-round pick to New York Rangers. His brother Mike Ryan was a 2nd-round pick. It was 32nd overall. Back then, it was the 2nd round to Dallas Stars. And they're from Milton, Massachusetts. 2 great guys, great players, and they lost their dad. Their dad, John Ryan, who was an unbelievable guy. Guy was given like 6 months to live, close to 6 years ago, I think, and passed away this past week. So last night we had his wake and his funeral this morning, and it's just hard when you see somebody that's such a close friend and you see him hurting, and I just felt so bad. Their dad was the nicest guy ever. He was so friendly. He was a cop in Quincy, Massachusetts for over 30 years. So seeing all the police out at his funeral today, they had the bagpipes going, they had all the respect he deserved. His friend gave an awesome eulogy and just talked about what he meant to everyone and how good of a guy he was. So I just felt so bad for the Ryans. He had 3 boys, his oldest John also, and then Mikey, and then Bill Ryan. Great family, and his dad's gonna really be missed. And I'm feeling you're feeling really sad for that family right now. I think he had 11 grandkids. I think it was 10 or 11 grandkids. So they were all there, and it's just sad when you see a good friend go through something like that. But I hope, and I'm sure he knows that his dad was just loved by all, and you ran into this guy who was so quick-witted, funny, and just an awesome person. So I'm really feeling for the Ryan family right now, and John Ryan will be remembered forever, no doubt. And actually, one more thing that was awesome to see was Mike Ryan. He works for the Florida Panthers, does a great job with them, and so he had his day with the Stanley Cup Monday of last week, and he was able to bring it over and got a picture with Billy and himself and his dad with the Stanley Cup, and he passed away the next day. And I just think to see your son be a part of a team, and I think Bill will get one someday, whether it's in Montreal or somewhere else, who knows? But it was just really cool that that's what his dad got to see, his last day alive. So that was a special moment, and they sent me over a picture that I was really happy to see that. So
that's incredible, Whit.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing, buddy.
Yeah.
That's a tough weekend there.
Yeah. So we appreciate everyone listening, and just one final reminder, we do have the Sandbagger Scramble will be Wednesday night at 6 o'clock Eastern on all of our social channels. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope everyone has a great week.